What you say, hon?
He didn't say demonstrations. He didn't say protests.
Oh, give her my love. How is she doing?
He said riots.
She's doing good. Tom Hartman
Oh,
Radio
please give her my love. You know I like her.
11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
She's an adult.
T820. COVID-19 has forced nearly 1 in 5 U.S. households to
Seriously, it's like, you know, she's an adult. I
screening
like
for
that.
cancer and other diseases. Is
Hey, Andre, how you doing?
But
Yeah.
don't worry.
Yeah, I do.
It's not too late
Can you
to get
hear
back on
him?
track with your health care.
I'm up. There we go. So I was waiting for the video.
Oh,
but
okay,
it's
I'm
posted
sorry.
now. So.
No substitute for a visit with your doctor.
And thank you for getting up just a
Medical
little
offices have stepped up
early,
their precautions.
just to so we can do this.
Reverend, could you talk, please?
Healthy. It all starts with a call to your doctor.
Testing.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Gotta wait for the Facebook delay to catch up.
Okay.
WCPT 820. Where facts.
Oh, this is going to be
Okay,
cool
I can hear
today.
the Reverend. I can hear you. We are all good.
Okay, that's great. Perfect.
This is 8 News.
Reverend, I just need to get a couple more things up.
Hurricane Ian made landfall in western Cuba this morning as it barrels toward Florida. The AP's Donna Warder.
The Category 3 hurricane is lashing Cuba's western
It's chilly.
tip, sustained winds
And it
of
seems
about
like it's getting chilly
125
quickly
miles an
now.
hour. Ahead of the storm,
Very quick.
You know, I'm like, I gotta shake. I mean,
in Pinar del Rio province.
I've just got to go on and get my, I've got to get my clothes together again, just one more time. It's like,
You're right. Yes.
Florida as early as Wednesday.
I wasn't ready to go in that closet.
I was, you know, I mean, and the thing is, I didn't even get a chance to put everything away.
Which areas will get the worst
That's
of
the
this?
killer.
The National Hurricane Center's Andy Lato.
We don't want to be specific about cities because the track still is changing over time, and the impacts could be reaching multiple locations. So right now we're focusing on the western.
Hey, everybody, I hope that you all are doing well
Hurricane
today.
Center's Andy Lato. President Putin may be about to declare 4 areas
Can you
of
bring the radio
Ukraine
down
parts
just a
of
bit?
Russia. The AP's Charles de Ledesma is in.
Just in fact, yes, thank you so much.
The British Defence Ministry says Putin will address both houses of the Russian Parliament on Friday and could declare the annexation of the regions. The internationally criticised vote is ending Tuesday. The ministry adds Russia will almost certainly hope that any accession announcement will be seen as a vindication of the special military operation and will consolidate patriotic support for the conflict, an aspiration, the ministry says, likely undermined by the increasing domestic awareness of Russia's recent battlefield setbacks. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Jury selection gets underway today in a case involving the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The founder of the far-right Oath Keepers and 4 associates are charged with seditious conspiracy. This is AP News. How to house those migrants bust to New York. The AP's Julie Walker with what New York is doing.
Hanger-sized tents are going up in New York City to house thousands of migrants who have been bused to the Big Apple as part of a campaign by Republican governors to disrupt federal border policies. Groundwork being laid in this remote corner of the Bronx, the Orchard Beach parking lot. While no migrants were there, Bronx resident Gigi Gilliard showed up. She has concerns and was dropping off warm clothes.
Do they know that they're going to be in tents? Do they know it's going to be like a shelter environment?
With city shelters full, Mayor Eric Adams has said the influx of thousands of migrants is a humanitarian crisis that needs a different approach. But some residents not happy about the tents.
There's some neighborhoods who are concerned about safety, right? Like that is a concern.
Officials also looking at other areas for these tents. Julie Walker, New York.
And I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 Chicago traffic update.
Inbound Eisenhower Road, where delays are really intense this morning from the Veterans Memorial
I get
Tollway
blocked
to
from
83. It's much heavier than usual at this hour.
Hey, Maddie,
It
how's
takes
everybody?
57
Everybody
minutes
like
to
and
get from
share.
390
Please
to
like
downtown
and share,
Chicago.
like and
There's
share.
something additional
We're going to
going
talk
on
about,
there.
Pastor,
It's just
you are more than
14
welcome to
minutes
join
from
in. I know you're
the
busy
old
today.
post office.
We're going to
Cedar Lake
look at
Street, another alternate
the black male
west
voter
of
problem in the
83.
Democratic Party. And
89
actually, they
eastbound
are
traffic
beginning
is
to
crawling
lose
from
more
declined
support
to grant where
from the
traffic
black
diverged
community.
off and back
But
on the roadway after an earlier
Stacey
wreck involving two
Abrams,
semis. It's now
Reverend
more than
Thurston
an
said,
hour and a
if black
half
men
from the
vote for
Bishop
me,
Ford
I will
Freeway
win.
to the Indiana Toll Road.
That's very
Down 18
interesting
minutes.
because black men
Signal
have
is
been
now at
saying
eastbound
that they have
Stevenson,
felt
Bryan, and
ignored by her
Bishop Ford as well.
campaign,
I'm
and
Telemark.
indeed she has an 80%
every day. Thank you for your insight. Always felt a little bit smarter.
support from the black community. Now, one of the things that I've learned from Reverend's campaigns is that you need 90 plus as a black candidate running
for years
in a mainstream campaign
whatever they want
with a broader audience.
And Americans paid the price. That all changes.
And so
right
you have
now,
one has to wonder what's going on, right?
Inflation Reduction Act.
And Raphael Warnock's at 85%.
Here's what that means for you.
That's just
First,
it's all very
Medicare can now
interesting.
finally negotiate lower prices for prescription drugs. Drugs like insulin will cost a fraction of what they
we
do
will
today.
see
The
how
days
this is
of
all
drug
going to
companies
go.
All right, 60 seconds, everyone.
Okay.
Second, it builds on the Affordable Care Act to lower health care premiums for 13 million Americans. And third, this bill includes the largest investment ever to take on climate change. Clean energy production will ramp up, dependence for fossil fuels will come way down, and new jobs will be created. The entire bill is
bringing
paid
something
for by
down,
making
so
the biggest
just keep the
corporations and
music
the ultra
playing.
wealthy pay their fair share, saving Americans money today, saving the planet for future generations tomorrow. Learn more at whitehouse.gov. Paid for by House Majority Forward.
Chicago's Progressive Talk.
I'm bringing this up,
WCPT
and
820,
we are
where
up.
facts matter.
My name is Ruth Rusi. I volunteer with United Way, reading to children to help.
All right, 10 seconds, everyone.
Future. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
I'm
Give, advocate,
bringing
volunteer.
this ring,
Live
the
United.
last
Go to
story up.
liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way.
Okay, any more time or just
Yeah,
play
if you
music?
could, can you give me just, yep. I
60
just
or
found a story. Thank you. A story about Edward Snowden. He was given Russian. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is Reverend.
Not a problem. We got 30 seconds left. Do you need more time?
Thank
Or
you.
is that
No,
enough?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. I'll
Thank
see when we
you
get
so
10.
much.
7 a.m. Yes, that's early. But when you get there, you'll find information, education, and you may just be entertained. That's the My Community Plan Fund.
10 seconds.
Okay, fantastic.
On WCPT
Okay, hey everybody, call me at
Radio
773-763-9278. I'll put the number up, but
Change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am green.
hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please meet us over there and like and share the show. I'm also streaming on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. For those of you who want me to friend you on Facebook, I can only friend you there. They are pushing people off of the Santita Jackson page. It's only a landing page. That's why I had to open up the Santita Jackson and Friends page. So everybody, please go to Santita Jackson and Friends and like me there, and then we can move on from there, okay? All right. Call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. John Nichols will be giving us the latest on the Senate race in Wisconsin. Mandela Barnes has an opportunity to become, he's in a neck and neck race with the sitting Senator Ron Johnson. He could become the first black senator out of there, but he's a progressive, and I think that is what's more important. That having been said, it's neck and neck, and Ron Johnson is edging ahead, and we're just trying to figure out what's going on there and how Mandela Barnes can win. But first, we're going to be talking about the Democrats' black male voter problem. I read a very interesting piece by Charles Blow, great columnist from the New York Times, who talks about black men choosing not to vote and black men choosing not to vote Democrat more than that. Black men choosing to vote for President Trump, then President Trump, and black people and Latino voters moving toward the Republican Party. There's a lot behind that. And Stacey Abrams said, look, if black men vote for me, I'm going to win. Kind of putting it in the space of black men. What do you think about that? I want you to call me 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Is it black men who are at fault here, or is there something else going on here? I mean, there's a lot going on, a lot of pieces, a lot of moving pieces. So let's talk on the Santita Jackson Show. Call me at 773-763-9278. Getting a little bit of an echo. 773-763-WC. Before we get the good news from Pastor Stephen Thurston of Salem Baptist of Hope, the author of Mirror Moments. Everybody, today it's going to be kind of cool. It feels autumnal. It's fall. I can't believe it. What happened to the summer? I mean, it's like I just got my clothes into the mothballs. Oh, well, here we are. Chicago will have a high of 58 degrees, partly cloudy. And in Minneapolis, St. Paul, we're twinning with you today, 58 degrees. It will be sunny. The Dow closed down 329 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed down 65. The S&P 500 closed down 153. In Major League Baseball, the White Sox will be facing off against the Twins today. Yay, love it. The Phillies will be playing the Cubs here in Chicago. Last night, the Cowboys bested the New York Giants 23-16. Hurricane Ian made landfall in western Cuba this morning as it continues barreling toward Florida, where residents in some coastal areas of Florida are already evacuating. The Category 3 storm is packing maximum sustained winds of 125 miles per hour and life-threatening storm surges, according to the National Hurricane Center. According to its projected path, everybody, Ian is expected to emerge over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico and continue churning toward Florida. We are praying for everyone who's being impacted by this today. Japan held an elaborate state funeral for former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe today. Abe, who was Japan's longest serving prime minister, indeed from political royalty in Japan, if you will. He was shot dead during a campaign speech in July, stunning a nation where gun violence is extremely rare. More than 4,300 guests attended the service in Tokyo, including Vice President Kamala Harris and other foreign dignitaries. Many mourners left flowers and visited memorial sites to pay their respects to the late leader, and thousands took to the streets, though, in anti-funeral protests across Tokyo. The demonstrations grew tense at times as large groups of protesters voiced their discontent about Abe's policies while in office and their opposition to the high cost of the funeral, while the country grapples with a high rate of inflation. The Justice Department on Monday declared that their list of seized materials from the search of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence was, quote, full and accurate, despite former President Trump's claims of planted evidence. President Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000 in federal student debt loan for low and middle income borrowers could cost $400 billion, according to the Congressional Budget Office released. That report was released yesterday. President Biden announced the forgiveness plan in August. Okay, it's going to cost $400 billion. We still need it. What do you think? And guess what, everybody? After nearly a decade in exile, Edward Snowden has been granted Russian citizenship. Indeed, he's one of the whistleblowers, letting us know how little privacy we have online and with our own computers, everybody. And those are some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Pastor Stephen Thurston, the author of Mirror Moments. Indeed, are you going to be having your Facebook Live session this afternoon?
Yes, today, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. I'm raising the question, do you want a project or do you want a partner? Yeah, we're in the relationship space today.
You are a tough customer, honey. God bless you. I mean,
You got to ask the hard questions.
You ask the hard questions, and boy, you are a tough customer. God bless the woman who's with you. That's all right. I mean, being with you is like being in therapy, I'm sure. But that's a good thing, because these relationships, Pastor, we're supposed to be working our stuff out, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. We work on ourselves, become a better version of ourselves, and the person we're with, they become a better version of themselves. In the process, it all kind of works out for the better.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen, everybody. So think about that. Think about that. Well, what is the good news today?
Well, in that vein, I want to talk about the 8 rules of fighting fair, The good news is that we can fight fair. Fights don't always have to be knockdown, drag out, Mike Tyson-like bouts between people. So let me raise the question. Have you ever yelled through things or slammed doors just to make your point, to get your significant other to pay attention to you? Have you ever given your significant other the silent treatment? Have you ever hurt your partner with name calling, button pushing, or sarcasm just to get the last word? Or even pretended that there was no problem because it was just easier that way? If your answer is yes to any of those questions, then I'm willing to wager that you and your significant other don't fight fair. Now, to be fair, most of us have never engaged in conflict resolution classes. We don't have a background or certification in that space. And then with that, you add in untamed emotions to the mix, combined with toxic thinking, and it becomes no wonder how things can get real bad real fast in some of our tension spaces in relationships. And I get it. When we're sad or angry or confused or disappointed, it's easy to do a couple of things. Number one, drop the should bomb. They should know me by now. Or emotionally short circuit. I'm done. I'm out. Or leap to catastrophic conclusions. I don't know why you bought that without talking to me. You just ruined our financial future. Or even play the blame game. If it weren't for X, we wouldn't have X by now. Now listen, at the root of all of this is toxic thinking. That's negative self-talk about ourselves, about our significant other, and or the relationship as a whole. And as you detoxify your thoughts, you'll find that you jump to conclusions less, you'll minimize your unrealistic expectations, and you'll lessen the frequency of losing your temper when conflict does arise in your relationships. Now, toxic thinking, it prevents us from fighting fair because it positions our significant other as an adversary rather than as our ally when it comes to combating the real issues in our relationships. So as we engage in some remediation to rid the toxicity from our thinking, let me share with you all 8 rules that will aid you in fighting fair when conflict rises in your relationship. Number 1, I want you to choose rational over emotional. The body's method for managing stress is to initiate the fight or flight response. And when we experience anger or fear, we don't lose it. No, our bodies simply release adrenaline and we react accordingly. Our toxic thoughts can cause strong physical reactions. So you've got to excuse yourself sometimes just to collect yourself. Counting to 10, it really does work. Trust me, I've done it many times. And then you got to remind yourself that your significant other, that's God's son or God's daughter. Remember that before you begin to demean them and talk harsh against them and talk down at them or even call them names. That's God's child. Number 2, I want you to take the toxic off the table. Yelling, slamming doors, throwing things, punching walls, name calling, all of that. You can't consider those negative emotions as options. These actions could be interpreted by your significant other as intimidation and elicit defensive behavior. Number 3, you've got to know what you're fighting for. Stop trying to be the winner of the argument. Winning or losing isn't really important in a relationship. Are you treating each other fairly and with respect? That's the key. The goal should be to defeat the problem rather than your partner. You got to fight for resolution, not for a win. Number 4, make the criticism constructive. Toxic thinking is really toxic criticism about what your partner is doing to fail, disappoint, or hurt you. Number 5, remember that different does not mean deficient. Differences make the world go round, except for when your partner doesn't see things your way or respond the way you think that they should. You got to stop letting your differences become a do or die obstacle. You simply need to respect and work with your significant other's style and personality. And listen, you can't change a grown person. You can only influence them. That's important to remember. Number 6, claim your contribution. Any problems between you and your significant other are a result of your combined dynamic. Yes, you do have a role in every problem, and when you accept some responsibility for the problem, your significant other sees a willingness to cooperate, which then opens them up. Number 7, concede to concessions. You can always settle on a solution. Now, there's 4 steps to go through. You got to brainstorm, evaluate the alternatives, come to a mutual understanding, and then try it out and be willing to implement new solutions if the first one isn't working. And guess what? Empathy keeps the sense of we alive. 8th and finally, you got to forgive. Now, forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means that you're accepting your partner in spite of the past hurts and disappointments that have been present in the relationship. Remember, it takes 2 to fight fairly. So I hope I've given you some tools today that'll help you the next time you reach a tension point in your relationship. It's all right to fight, but make sure you fight fair.
Thank you for that, because that is, the silent treatment. Hey, I'm good for that, because I have had it. I can get you, but you know what? But then you're like, what's the point here? I think just as you get older, it just depends upon how you learn how to fight, right? And and I think we have got to really begin to look at that, because relationships. I was reading books by Dr. Harville Hendricks, who was a guest on my old show on another radio station, and he said, all of our relationships, be they romantic or platonic, they are designed to help us to heal our childhood wounds and hurts, because that's all we're living on. And so each relationship, whether it's your buddy or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your partner, your husband, your wife, it's sacred. And this person's in your life to help you to get better, to get right. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. How can we catch you this afternoon?
Go to my Facebook page, Stephen Thurston. That's Stephen with the PH, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll see you there.
All right. Love you, Pastor. And of course, how can we get your book?
You can head to my website, Stephen J. Thurston, Stephen with the PH, StephenJThurston.com. It'll pop right up on your screen. I made it real easy for you.
All right. All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, of course, Pastor Stephen Thurston, the teaching pastor of the Salem Baptist Church, House of Hope. When are you going to be preaching there again, very quickly, before we bring up Dr. Knighton?
We haven't set the schedule yet, but I'll be sure to let you know.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait. They started the Sunday night broadcast at my home church once again, at Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church. Thank you, Pastor Sharp and First Lady Bree. Yes. Oh, saw your father there. Hello. Because it took us back. Come on, it took us back. We all grew up with that. We did the nighttime rounds. Come on. We ended up at the First Church of Deliverance. Got no sleep. Love you, Pastor Thurston.
That's right.
No, come on now. This is old church. Dr. Shanina Knighton, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
It's wonderful. Very quickly, how's your nephew? Got to do that check?
Yes, still recovering.
Okay. We got to check every day. Of course, she's the executive director of the Association for Professionals in Infection Control and Epidemiology. And we are so excited to have this registered nurse, this PhD, this infection preventionist with us every day. I have a question for you. What about, because now we are back in school, many of us increasingly are in the workplace. And, a friend of mine just had COVID and just went to a party. Number one, how long are you infectious? And many of us, I think, are walking around asymptomatic. But let me start with, how long are we infectious? How long could we spread COVID?
So the thing is somebody can literally be contagious for like the average has been 10 days.
Ooh.
Which is interesting because, like I was going to say, I know there's the recommendation. So like with this, so it's about 5 different days. And when somebody gives a recommendation in regards to the length of days, essentially what they're doing is they're taking the average. And so the symptoms would have to have improved or resolved in order for you to actually say to yourself, I no longer have COVID. Unfortunately, what's happening is you may, and this is a real thing, some people may not necessarily go and get tested right away, or somebody might get tested too early. So there have been instances of where somebody will literally say, I'm not sure if I have COVID, but I'm having these symptoms and I'm not feeling well. They go get the test comes up negative, and then maybe 2-3 days later, the test comes up positive, and it's the fact that their body may have not just necessarily caught it in time.
What about testing? I mean, because you might have symptoms and you keep testing negative. Should you keep testing, or what should you do?
To be honest, so I can't give anybody, let's say, recommendations in that particular area, but I know that if it were for me, I'm going to go get tested when I know that I'm going to wait about 24 hours. So I'm still going to make sure that I'm not around other individuals, while, let's say, the skepticism builds. But I would go get tested within 24 to 48 hours of being exposed. And if I know that for sure I have some symptoms that are showing up, then I'm then going to go get tested probably somewhere between that 3rd and that 5th day. Because I realize that because if that test comes back negative, when I first initially get tested, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have it.
That's interesting, because when I had COVID, it took Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 days for me to test positive. And I was not around people because I had traveled, and I didn't feel comfortable with the fact that the hotel that I was staying in New York was just packed. I mean, I was doing everything I possibly could, washing my hands constantly, wearing 3 masks, blah, 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 blah. But I was in the airport. I had to transfer. I had always take nonstop flights. This time I could not. So I'm in the airport, and the airport in New York and in Baltimore, massive and packed. There you have it. And it took me 5 days to test positive. 5 days. But I kept testing.
And then too, Santita, did you do were you doing rapids, or were you doing a PCR?
Well, I did rapids, and then I did the PCR. I still came back negative. I did the PCR in the middle of that because I was afraid to get in the car with anybody. Fortunately, a relative let me get in the car with them. My brother Yusuf said, look, I'll just take you. I said, no, because he's got 5 kids. I'm like, no, but they were, your family gets desperate to find out if you're, COVID can turn on you. And they just wanted to know, do you have it? Fortunately, someone who had some family member who had just had it said, look, I will take you. Let's go get the test. I still tested negative, and that was in between. That was like the 3rd day in. It took 2 more days for me to test positive. So, it was, felt weird, but that's just how it happened for me. That's how it happened for me. And, but of course, I called you as soon as I found out. I said, okay, I just need to, what do I need to do? I mean, you're not a doctor, you're not prescribing things for me, but you were helping me to understand how I could shore up my immune system. And I think it helped tremendously. I really, really do. One of these days I want to talk with you about these pulse oximeters, because of course I had one to test, the oxygen levels in my blood. But I'm understanding there are some reports that say that all the pulse oximeters, that people of color are not measured accurately. Have you heard about that?
Well, that's not something that's necessarily new, Santita.
Okay, I have 1 minute.
They look at those readings, and they think that that's the oxygen saturation of their entire body, and it's not necessarily the case. You know, it can tell you how fast your heart is beating, like through your pulse. It can show you your oxygen level in general, but it does not necessarily mean that that's reflective of what's going on with your breathing or oxygen levels on the inside. So I know we can't talk about too much about that today, but just understand that it may not necessarily give the most up-to-date reading. Like, of course, there may be a little bit of error in there, and some people, unfortunately, rely on them heavily, but it doesn't mean that on a micro level that's something else to be still starving or, you know, oxygen at an oxygen deficit.
Well, I got 30 seconds for you. What's the latest post on Hey Dr. Nina? What are you talking about over the past day or so?
So to be honest with you, I have been doing a lot of IG story posts, and so and when I say post, meaning not necessarily post, but inside of the actual stories. And so just reminding people that, you know, autumn leaves, like autumn sneeze, or fall leaves, autumn sneeze, essentially. So knowing that essentially there are fall allergies that exist. So everything, because the weather changing, is not necessarily a cold, but droplets are still droplets. They contain germs.
Okay.
So clean your hands, and you're using cough and sneeze etiquette.
God bless. Be back in a minute. Squeezing everything I can out to Dr. Knighton.
Where you can hear the Stephanie Miller Show every weekday, 8 to 11 a.m. because facts matter.
Oh my gosh. But you know what? I'm going to start asking you what you're posting every day, okay?
During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join.
Oh, Dave Dowling, take care of your hand. Everybody send Dave some love. He said he's not typing much today. His hand is too sore. It's your hand and not your wrist, right?
He could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape.
I just don't want it to be carpal tunnel.
1862.
But sending everybody much love today. Let me start here. Andre, hey, Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. Ty, how you doing? Yolanda and Maddie, Miss Maddie, love that.
Working for the Union
Miss
blockade.
Jewel, hey girl. Daryl, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, Jan? How are you? Renee, hey girl, I hope you call in today. What about this black male voter problem from the Democratic Party? Is this a real thing? You betcha.
African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that?
WCPT 820, Chicago's
Stacey Abrams had to make a direct appeal to black men, or was it putting up black men on Front Street? Do you think that she was right to do that? I mean, there are just so many pieces that I want to get from you.
Chicago traffic and weather update.
On the south side of Chicago,
one of
Ashland is closed
my experience in politics is that when you are running
94th Street due to a fire in an apartment building.
in these
We are
big
seeing
races,
major delays on
Reverend
the
Jackson has
inbound
shown us
Kennedy
that
from
you have to
190
win
plus. Our earlier
90+%
crash cleared.
of the black
Trip
vote.
times come down
You
a
have
little.
to have
It's 50
excited
minutes,
black
so
folks
Aaron
need to be
downtown,
real
just
excited
9 from
about
Montrose,
black
about 20
candidates in
minutes
order
downtown
for them
the
to
airport.
win.
It's on
When
Eisenhower.
President
Heavy
Obama
regular
ran
congestion. Irving Park
and won,
83. The
black
trip
people
times come down a little there as
over-indexed in
well.
our vote.
48 minutes,
I mean,
390
we
to
outvoted
downtown,
our
25
own
for
voter
full.
strength, which
Outbound
was a great
25
thing. That's what got
390.
him into office.
Eastbound 8094
But that's the way it has to
from
be. That's the
Indianapolis
way it has
Boulevard
to be. So
Grant.
think
Traffic
about
is
that,
forced
everybody.
off the roadway and allowed back on there due to a major wreck.
And just think about how you can
Here's the latest
appeal to
Chicago
black
weather
people
update.
while appealing
Most
to everybody
sunny
else.
skies
I mean, I
here for
think
today
the
with
mature
high
way
of
to
over
do it is
50s.
to
Winds
understand
out of the
that
northwest around 5 to
hey,
15 miles
what's
per
good
hour.
for black people is good for everybody. You know, ending slavery, you know, really helped America, right?
44. By Wednesday, sunshine high
Create the
60
labor
degrees.
movement.
Thursday,
You know,
we'll see sunny skies.
just
and high
everything we've
around
ever done has made
63.
America what America's
Friday,
supposed to
plenty of
be.
blue skies and sun high 68.
Think about that,
From the
everybody.
Weatherology Weather
So
Center,
call us at
meteorologist
773-763-9278.
Currently,
Write
it's
that, type that up
49.
here. 773-763-9278.
including heart attacks. But
I'm
symptoms
gonna say,
like jaw
well,
pain,
please call.
nausea, unusual fatigue,
Don't wanna lose my
dizziness,
manners
and
here.
backache are often different and more subtle than for a man. The fact is, heart disease is the #1 killer of women.
Okay, so call us and let us know if
Learn
you
more
think
at GetHeartCheck.org.
the Democrats have a black male
From
voter
Women's Heart
problem.
Alliance,
That is
in
what
partnership with Women
many
Heart.
are saying, and I want to hear what your thoughts
Attention,
are.
per the current government mandate, U.S.-based insurers are now required to cover at-home COVID testing kits.
Okay, Santita, I'm sending through Attorney Jones, Dwight McKee, Attorney Patillo, and Chappelle. I called Attorney Hoffler twice. She didn't answer, but I'll try again in a few minutes. I'll let you know when I get her.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Also, 45 seconds. I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all
The
right.
trusted
That's quite all right.
source for
Thank you
next
so much.
generation healthcare. Claim to your insurance provider. There is no deductible and no copay. Your 8 monthly tests will ship directly to your home or business for free. Go to testkitforfree.com. COVID-19
Okay, just call in,
variants are
Renee.
still
Call.
here,
I know
so
you
take
got
the
something to
worry
say
out
about
of
this.
searching for time-sensitive tests by registering you and your family today. Visit testkitforfree.com to register from the comfort of your own home. That's testkitforfree.com to receive 8 COVID-19 tests shipped to you at no cost. Just visit testkit
10 seconds, everyone.
Today.
Stand by, everybody.
Hero Health. This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Oh, yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. October 11th at Rainbow Push. Rick and I will be hosting, along with Greg Palast. He's going to be in town, everybody, debuting his new movie as we talk about getting out the vote. He's looking at what's happening in Georgia. Indeed, they're about to have a big event, October 5th in Georgia, a big red carpet event where he's debuting his new movie on voter theft and voter suppression in Georgia. And it's happening everywhere, everybody. But right now, let's talk about this black male voter problem that the Democrats are having. Before we get into that, of course, we've got Chappelle, the Pearl, from Celebrations by Us. What's going on, Chappelle?
Good morning, Santita, and Celebrations by Us is working hard to fulfill all of our orders, and we are getting ready to make your oxtail soup. We're going to make it today, and we'll get it to you tomorrow, first thing in the morning, and so that way, right after the show, you'll have your oxtail soup, I promise. So we are definitely booked and busy. Thank God we have a couple of orders due today, and we are taking care of all of your, not only your food, but we are doing your table decor as well as also your baby showers, birthday parties, weddings. We do it all here. So don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. We look forward to serving you.
Very cool. Well, very quickly before I get on to everybody and get on to Jewel. Hey, girl, she called in. Do you think that Democrats have a black male voter problem, Chappelle?
I think they have a black problem. Not just male. Black women, everybody is frustrated because they gave us a whole bunch of promises that they have not fulfilled. And we're still looking for the justice and policing reform. We're still looking for health care, universal health care coverage. There's a lot of need in the black community. And police reform, the George Floyd Act, was very important to us. And for them to disregard that and not even bring it up, and then we have the Voting Rights Act, things that are essential to our being as black people in America, they are not for. So, yeah, they have a black problem. Not just black male, but black. All across the board.
Well, mic drop moment that Chappelle has spoken. Jewel from New York, what's going on, sweetie? How you doing today?
Good morning, Santita. I just wanted to say good morning and how much I appreciate your show. You got me falling behind Chappelle. The mic dropper.
You're the mic dropper too. What you talking about, Jewel? You match your name, girl. Sending you much love today. I'm glad to hear your voice. It's always a joy to see you, but I love hearing your voice.
Thank you. I appreciate your show so much. It's such a blessing to wake up every morning and get this information analyzed properly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you, girl. And please like and share the show. Jewel, like and share the show and get everybody, Savannah, James, you too. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. And Joyce, like and share the show. Andre Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. All right, everybody. The Democrats' black male voter problem. Last month at a Pod Save America live show, Stacey Abrams celebrated Democratic activist and register of voters and brilliant politician, really, and Democratic nominee for the governor of Georgia, said that black men have the power to determine the election in that state. And she explained that some black men don't vote because, quote, often the leadership that gets elected is not reflective of their needs. She continued, I know that if we have the kind of turnout possible among black men and they vote for me, I will win this election. That is why my campaign has been so focused on making sure we're addressing these challenges, close quote. What's going on though? Because in 2016, Trump got 12% of the black male vote. And he moved his numbers up sharply in 2020. What is going on? And more black folks are moving away from the Democratic Party. Not in droves, but it's notable, everybody. So let's talk about this. What is it? Some black men feel that they are being ignored. I mean, the thing is, it's a funny thing. Just I say this as a black woman, obviously. I just see black women standing up for black men all the time. All the time. I can't help but think that there's some misogyny and sexism in all of this, but you know, let me let the black men have their say before we bring in CK and everybody else. Let me start with you, Attorney Robert Patillo. You're down in Georgia. What about the Democrats' black male voter problem? Charles Blow is coming out of Georgia now, so he is watching this race up close and personal. Robert Patillo?
Good morning, Santita.
Do the Democrats have a black male voter problem?
Oh, absolutely. It's been brewing for years. It's just metastasizing now that the races have become so close. Because if you want to really look at it, what exactly is the Democratic Party's message directly to black men? If it's a question of what their message is to the Jewish community, continued support for Israel, support for aggressive hate crimes laws, pushing forward to make sure that there's no discrimination. You can articulate what the Democratic message is to that group. What's the Democratic message to the LGBTQ community? Continued support for nationalization and to nationally codify the right to marry, survivorship rights, laws to ensure they're not discriminated against, changing pronouns, etc. You can articulate what their message is. You can go on down the line that way until you get to what their message is for black men. At which point in time is usually something along the lines of a mismatch of criminal justice reform, and then it kind of peters off at that point into things they're doing for other groups. So they don't really have the ability to talk to black men because they don't like to listen to black men. That the minute that if black men stand up in a meeting and start talking, because this has happened to me, you start getting called misogynistic, sexist. You almost get shouted down in these Democratic meetings. Then on the other hand, let's contrast that with President Trump when he was running, because you haven't really seen other candidates on the Republican side of the aisle able to replicate this, but he runs on, I call it almost a 1980s action movie star. That's the way he kind of presents himself, kind of this brash, I don't care type of attitude that a lot of men gravitate towards, just in general. This is not a black and white man issue. But then on top of that, I can name more black spokespeople for President Trump than I can name black spokespeople for President, or black male spokespeople for President Biden. For President Trump, you know, you have Bruce Lavelle, Mark Burns, Ashley Bell, on on down the line to get all the way to Alan Keyes and Jesse Lee Peterson, kind of the entire clown car of people there. But on the Democratic side of the aisle, you don't really see that many black men who are given the opportunity and given those positions of power to speak up and to stand up and to articulate what their issues are. Concomitous with that, because President Trump surrounded himself with people like Senator Tim Scott and others, you saw that you started having more rappers, people like Kanye West and Ice Cube and others start at least saying, well, let's listen to what they have to say. So they backed that up with policy also. You had the Platinum Plan that was supposed to be the plan that President Trump put out for black men in America. That may not have been the best plan, but it's a plan that physically existed that you could compare to that you didn't really see on the Democratic side of the aisle. You saw the opportunity zones being created because what all the focus group says that black men across the board, their biggest issue is economic opportunity, ability to be entrepreneurs, to start their own businesses, to be able to economically compete in communities. As a message that was articulated and shaped by black men, that was pushed towards black men, and then as a result, you saw more black men voted for President Trump. So on the one side of the aisle, when black men stand up and say what they want, they're called sexist, misogynistic, shut up, sit in the corner. On the other side of the aisle, they say, well, here's the Platinum Plan, here's the opportunity zones, here's a seat at the table around Mar-a-Lago along with these other leaders. That's how you end up getting these places. Now, the Democrats, it's very easy to turn this around because at the end of the day, black men are still super voters for the Democratic Party. Over 70% vote still for the Democratic Party. Is more so a question of turnout than it is a question of persuasion. But when it comes to that political science question of who gets what when, if it's a question of angering one of the other special interest groups within the tent of the Democratic Party or angering black men often end up at the bottom of that totem pole, which is the result why you see these numbers you see currently.
I'll call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Do the Democrats have a black male voter problem? Just very quickly. If black men turn out in high numbers, will they move from that 12% that they denied Stacey Abrams? Can she win? If she gets, say, 10 more, if she gets... if the numbers go down, if 12% don't go to Kemp, if 5% go to Kemp, do you see any of that changing, Robert, before I go to the rest of the panel?
Well, one, I am very much disturbed by this narrative being put out there that somehow black men are the reason for Stacey Abrams' problem. Because you remember, 8 months ago, when I said exactly what the campaign needed to do, I got called everything but a child of God for doing so. Here we are now saying the exact same thing that I said 8 months ago, as if it's a surprise. And this is kind of what I was saying about this process of telling black men, sit down, shut up, and sit in the corner. We got this. Us and our white liberal friends will win this election, and then when the election comes, oh my God, why do you even vote for us? And then they blame it on sexism and misogyny. But I remind people that in 2018, the same year that Stacey Abrams ran for governor the first time, Andrew Gillum lost to Ron DeSantis in Florida by around the same margin, about a point and a half. Andrew Gillum only got about 80% of the black female vote. Over 20% of black females in Florida voted for Ron DeSantis, but I never heard it being blamed on sexism. I never heard it being blamed on misandry. I never blamed it, heard it being blamed on black women not wanting to see a black man stand up, etc. But we've seen this narrative being put out there on the Democratic side of the aisle, so that they have almost a fail-safe. So if the person does lose, then they can say, well, because black men don't like to see black women succeed, further dividing us politically, when that's simply put not the case. Stacey Abrams is down by 8 points in Georgia. If black men individually can make up 8 points in the state, we'll be the most powerful voting bloc in the state. So let's not act like it's just black men that are the issue. You're having a lot of issues with white suburban women that still exist. You're still having nearly no crossover with white men. And if you compare the poll numbers to Warnock, Warnock is also leading Abel by 6 to 7 points. And that's not just a black man issue out there. So I think they're creating a convenient narrative where if things do not go their way, here we are 6 weeks out from the election, that black men get to be the scapegoat. And instead of turning around and analyzing and saying, well, what were the things that we needed to do to help attract more black men to the campaign? What were the things that we needed to do to ensure that we are motivating young black men to vote? They can say, well, those black men are misogynistic anyway, so we don't need to even articulate a message to them. And when Reverend Jackson was in Atlanta last, we met with a group of elected officials, and I asked them a simple question. If you saw a group of 5 or 6 young black men hanging at the bus stop over in Southwest Atlanta or over in Bankhead or one of these economically challenged communities, you hop out of your nice car with your nice suit on, what will be your message to them to get them to vote for you? 18, 24 years old, just hanging out. What will be the Democratic message to them? Are you going to go talk to them about climate change, women's reproductive rights? Are you going to talk to them about electric vehicles? I mean, what exactly is the message that you have articulated that gets that group to talk to you, gets that group to vote? If you don't have one, well, then you're not allowed to be mad at them because it's your job as the politician to attract voters, not their job to come gravitate towards you. You have raised millions, tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars for these campaigns. Intended to attract voters to you. You cut these thousands of commercials, TV, radio, print, advertising to get people to vote for you. But if you're not talking to young black men, if you don't have any message for young black men, then you can't be mad when young black men aren't voting for you because you haven't invested your money properly in order to attract them to your campaign.
Attorney Darrell Jones, Democrats, do they have a black male voter problem?
Santita, good morning. And, listening to all that Robert has laid out, and certainly I'm in agreement with a lot of it. But, one of the things that I think you've got to take into consideration is that I don't think you can clump all black men just into one category and say there's a black male voting problem. One of the things that you've got to break out is, are we talking about everyone from 18 to 99? I just don't believe that's the case. One of the things that we're in the middle of right now is that we're training young black activists, and we're in the middle of this training session with them now. And this is the 18 to 35-year-olds. And one of the things that they continue to say is not that, and this is across the country where they're coming into D.C., one of the things that they continue to say is not that there is a problem with black voters or a problem with black men voters in general for any particular party, but rather that there is a feeling of why should I get involved? Why should I vote? Nothing's happening for me. I'm not seeing the benefits of my investment of voting for someone. I'm not seeing the change that needs to happen in the community. And I think that dovetails into a part of what Robert was saying, which is what he was pointing out, that if you're not receiving a return on your investment, why are you going to continue to invest? And the question becomes, what is the black community, and Shapiro put it best, what is the black community receiving for the investment of their vote? What are black men receiving for the investment of their vote? And perhaps that's the focus of what's going on here, because we know that when we start looking at the Democratic Party in particular, 3 strikes and you're out, which disparately impacted black men, came out of the Democratic Party. That's where it came from. And so the question becomes, what are the policies and the advancements that are being put in place that are advancing the interests of black men? What are the economic realities? How are you putting dollars in the pockets of black men to be able to take care of their families? That's the question that needs to be answered. I suspect that one of the reasons you saw a 12% black male vote for Trump was because he was pushing that economic message. Let's get money in your pocket. Let's be able to get you so that you can provide for your family. That was one of the pushes that I think probably inspired many black men. I could even take it a step further, Santita, because we know within the last 2 weeks or so, Sean Hannity was interviewing Bill Riley about Georgia and about the black vote down there. Their whole message, again, was one of economics. What did they say? They said, well, we think that black voters are going to stay home because the economy is so bad and they're so disparately impacted by what the Democratic Party has done in the economy. So we think they're going to stay home. Their whole message being one of economics, their push being one of economics. And so, I think that when we evaluate what's happening with the economics in the African American community, and we, layer it on with the failures that Chappelle was talking about, the failure in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the failure in having a hate crimes bill for the African American community, the failure, in general in dealing with the criminal justice system. All of that is what must be addressed, and I think that's the challenge that the party now is facing. Now, it seems like the economy is getting worse, not better, with regards to what we're hearing with regards to inflation and the possibility of the recession. So that's going to have another disparate impact. These are the challenges that are being faced right now. And the question is, how do they stand? How does the Democratic Party reverse that? And Stacey Abrams, certainly, a very well-qualified candidate, no question asked. But this is one of the challenges that I think she's facing down in Georgia, is answering that question.
Well, let me before I come to you, CK and Dwight, let me go to some of the callers because people want to speak. Philip from Pennsylvania, what's on your mind?
Yes. Good morning, Santita. Good morning to the panel. Great topic and subject. I agree with everything's being said. Now, let's also look what the Democratic Party is doing against the male candidates. Look at Kentucky. You had Christian Sinema going into Kentucky campaigning with Mitch McConnell. Charles Booker is trying to go against the junior, but she goes in there and pushes for the GOP. And you got a strong candidate, a strong black man candidate. I guess he's not corporate enough. So now they're going to just go do the status quo and make sure he doesn't get in. Look at all the voting. Look at the voter polls to be closed. And everybody will get on the entertainers, but the NBA and now the NFL's opening up places for polling, for voting. So it's not like the black men aren't trying to do, but you got President Biden, who still hasn't met with the young young entertainers, talking about, I'll get with you after the election. He hasn't came up with anything that's going to help economically. And then what do you say about our candidates? Oh, well, let's do a study about it. While it was his policies to put a lot of black men into jails. And he always going around hollering, well, I want to fund the police, not defund the police.
Well, hold on. Stay right there, Philip. I want you to stay with me for a minute because CK, I got 2 minutes, before I go to break. Kirsten Sinema was down in Kentucky. He is right with Mitch McConnell in this campaign cycle. CK, what's up with that?
Crazy. That's craziness. So, Sinema, the truth of the matter is, and we said this on the show, she needs to declare herself Republican and be done with it, because she's not really helping the Democratic Party, although she is helping in some measure, helping us hold on to a slight majority. But putting aside Kristen Sinema, I just want to offer a different opinion. Mm-hmm. When I listen to Robert, not from Georgia too, I kind of feel like we're in different states. I see the narrative completely different. I see much of what Robert is saying and what Gerald was saying as an issue with the Democratic Party with black folks, not with black men. Stacey Abrams has completely revived her approach with black men. All the things that Robert said she should do, she's doing, and more. So I that's why I said I feel like we're operating in two different states. Mm-hmm. She's doing those things. If they are not resonating well, but she's making more progress than she did before. But part of the problem she's encountering is a problem with the Democratic Party and black people. Stacey Abrams can't solve all those problems. So I I respectfully disagree with my colleagues about their narrative about Black men and Stacey not reaching out enough. She's doing all that completely. And I have a different narrative of why Robert was under attack when he made the comments on Fox News, because I believe Fox News manipulated his comments, and that's why he was under attack. So I just think, again, we need to look at all sides of this, recognize it's an issue with the Democratic Party. It is not a Stacey Abrams issue. She is fighting from the fight that the Democratic Party needs to address. It is not all about just the Black men. It's about the Democratic Party not addressing it. But for sure, if a greater percentage of Black men voted for her than voted before, she would win without a question. But some of the complaints are with the Democratic Party, the messaging, and their appeal. And she can't address all of that herself.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Everybody's fired up this morning, particularly Savannah. Savannah, you need to call in 773-763-9278. But let's talk about this from now. I'm coming to you after the break. Philip, talk to us during the break. Call us at 773-763-9278. Is there a Black male problem, voter problem in the Democratic Party, or is there a disconnect between the Black community and the Democrats? People say to Black folks, vote blue no matter who. No. Because everybody's getting their deliverables. Everybody but us. And that needs to be dealt with. Politics, this is not a love story, everybody. Ally McGraw and Ryan O'Neill. No, that's not what this is. No. This is about getting deliverables. Politics is about a proper apportionment of resources. That's all. Like whoever you want to in politics. But they better deliver for you. And if they don't, good things do not come their way. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Of course, John Nichols will be with us at the bottom of the next hour as he talks about what's happening with Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes.
Attention individuals.
Can you bring that down just a bit?
With tax debt during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Devin.
The IRS Deputy
Thank you so much. And
Taxpayer
thank you,
Relief
sweetie.
Initiative.
And Philip, are you still
Tax
there?
Fix will help you settle your tax bill for an amount you can afford. Remove.
Is Philip still there?
Stop
Philip?
negative collection actions.
Yes, sweetie, I wanted you to talk to the panel. But you have to bring that
free
down.
consultation, call 800-390-4043. That's it.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's all right. Philip?
Philip actually just hung up.
Oh wow, darn! I wanted to hear from Philip. But obviously before you officially come in, Dwight, do you have any reaction, or would you rather wait until you get on the air? I know you've got a lot to say.
I'll wait.
Okay. Well, CK, why don't you continue to elaborate?
No,
or maybe you and Robert should engage. I mean, because you all are both down there, and it's a very interesting thing when we've spoken with Attorney Gerald Griggs. He resonates, or should I say echoes, a lot of what Robert is saying. And then I'm, as I'm reading these different articles and as I'm talking to Black men, they're saying that, they're not talking to me. And what's disturbing to me, CK, is, and Dwight and Daryl and Robert, is the way Black women and Black men are being separated from each other. As if Black women do not fight for Black men every single day. You know the old saying, CK, that we love our sons and we raise our daughters. I mean, I don't know what else Black women can do. Now, there's a fair amount of manipulation going on now, because this Black girl magic thing, I think, is a little different. Because, and it bothered me to see Black men put on Front Street, because there are a lot of things that need to happen in order for Stacey to win. Attorney Fancher, how are you? Attorney Fancher, you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good. I mean, CK was making her point. I'm sorry, CK.
Yeah, well, Black women are put on Front Street. This is what we need to stop doing is saying, Stacey's not addressing. What else could Stacey do? It's one thing to be critical. Identify what else she can do, because every single thing that I've heard on this show and others say she's doing, it may not be resonating. That's a different issue. But she's doing it. We should be a strong enough people not to feel that Black girl magic is a problem. if black boy magic is not a problem, we have to come as one community. So I just do not, I feel that there's a certain amount of, and I'm not saying the talents, but when we are talking about this issue, and these are real issues, just as some of the men feel that, Stacey is not addressing the issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Many black women feel like enough is enough. Support her candidacy. You know she's the best candidate. Get past your sexism. Get past all of that and support her. And by the way, Andrew Gilliam didn't win for a whole bunch of reasons. But had Stacey had that percentage of the vote, she would have won.
Because no one, because no one criticized him for not getting more black women. It's like, well, so why didn't he get all the black women? And we know from politics with Reverend that a black candidate who's running statewide, let alone nationwide, you have to get north of 90% of the black vote. You have to really excite black people in order to have a real shot at winning. You need that. You need a very, very excited black electorate. And I'm just wondering, CK, about this new generation of black politicians, where sometimes we can be, and we understand mainstreaming, but sometimes that can hurt you with black people. But, you can never, ever with a woman candidate discount misogyny and sexism, ever, ever, ever.
Right. It just is. And it's just going to be. I mean, there's no need to complain about it. It just is. So my point of this is I'm accepting that it is, and I'm saying as a community, we need to come together. And we have gotten over these types of things in the past. We certainly get over some of our feelings when it comes to other candidates. So we can get over our feelings because all of the, I would, for those men who feel some kind of way about Stacey, if you ask them, honestly, do you think she's the best candidate? They probably say yes.
Maybe.
But they say, but I just don't like the way she looks. I just don't like the way, she's not really addressing the things that are important.
Oh, hold on.
Those are valid.
CK, y'all, guys, I have heard that from some men, that they don't like the way she looks. And that has been very, very disappointing to me. I'm like, this girl is blindingly brilliant. Are you serious right now?
Has changed the face of politics in Georgia. And we're talking about how she looks. So if we're going to be real and go down Front Street and say what it is, let's say what it is. That is part of it too. But all I'm saying is, okay, we got to address this and let's see how we can overcome these issues.
Okay.
But I don't want to hear men saying, oh, no, it's not about that. No, it's about that too.
But you know what, Stacey? I mean, but I'm serious, not Stacey. But CK, you know what? I want everybody to say what they've got to say today because we need to put all this stuff out on the table. We need to put it out there.
Well, that's what I'm just putting on the table. And that's
60 seconds, everyone.
Okay, and everybody be mindful of that. I've got some callers I got to go to because people want to weigh in from all over the country about this. So we're going to get right to it. Oh, boy. Didn't know it was going to be like this, CK.
Well, sometimes you got to put it there. It's great. And I think there's nothing wrong with disagreeing with people you love. I love Daryl. I love Robert. I don't know what other people are going to say, but I love them too, but I disagree.
But that's cool. But we still love each other. We can disagree.
And I do it respectfully. But like I said, I feel like I'm living in a different state than Robert describes, and he's here too.
Okay, and I want Robert to respond too.
And I think that's important, and maybe that's what you're seeing.
10 seconds, everybody.
Stand by. Whew, okay. Lordy Lord.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Call me at 773-763-9278. We have got a very, very robust discussion. If you go over to WCPT820.com and AM950radio.com, but WCPT is my home here in Chicago, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Do the Democrats have a black voter problem? Do they have a black problem? What is the deal? What is the deal? Stacey Abrams said, look, if black men vote for me, if they vote for me, I will win. And we're hearing very different perspectives here from Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Of course, he'll be on WOL at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time today, along with Barbara Arnwine. Attorney C.K. Hoffler will be on her show on WAOK today at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today. Can't wait to hear what they're both going to talk about. And of course, Attorney Robert Patillo, her mate at WAOK, and of course, she's the chair of Rainbow Push. He's the Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. He's on WAOK from 1 to 4 every Sunday. We have yet to hear from Dwight McKee and Attorney Mark Fancher, brilliant lawyer, and you got to get his book. That's right. Go to Amazon and get the Negroes of Friends Village, everybody. And we got a lot to talk about today. Chicago, a high of 58 degrees. It is autumnal here, everybody. It feels like fall. Partly cloudy, 58 degrees will be the high. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 58 degrees will be your high as well. In Major League Baseball, the White Sox will be playing the Twins today. Hey. The Phillies will be playing the Cubs. And the Cowboys last night bested the New York Giants 23-16. The Dow fell 329 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed down 65 points, and the S&P 500 closed down 153 points. Hurricane Ian made landfall in western Cuba this morning as it continues barreling toward Florida, where residents in some coastal areas are already evacuating. The Category 3 storm is packing maximum sustained winds of 125 miles per hour, and it's a life-threatening storm, and it is growing, everybody. Praying for the people of Florida, and the Caribbean, everybody. Japan held an elaborate state funeral for former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was killed in July, everybody. Their longest-serving prime minister was shot during a campaign speech this past summer, stunning a nation where gun violence is extremely rare. Representing our nation is our Vice President, Kamala Harris. The Justice Department on Monday declared that their list of seized materials from the search of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence was, quote, full and accurate, despite former President Trump's claims of planted evidence. According to the FBI, the agency had only a single business day to compile the first version of the inventory filed several weeks ago, but since has had more time to review and catalog the list. Everybody, we're looking for financial freedom. I want you to call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID. If you have poor credit, if you have no credit, if you've been bankrupt, if you are looking to get a loan for your home, if you're looking to develop a plan so you can get a home, if you know that your credit's not right, if you need to get your credit right, if you want to refinance your home, all of these things to get our financial houses in order. Team Hochberg can help you. Call them at 855-56-DAVID or visit them at 56david.com. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get a free consultation. Tell them everything. They've heard it all. They can negotiate with your credit card companies and bring down your payments so that you can get out of debt. That's what happened with Tom and Sonia. They have 2 kids, 17 credit cards they had, and $100,000 worth of debt on those cards. So they called Team Hochberg. Team Hochberg helped them to secure an FHA loan because they were struggling paying with payments on their mortgage because of these credit card debts, trying to eat, trying to live. And then they were able to reduce, Team Hochberg was able to reduce their credit card payments by over $2,800 a month. That could be you. It could be you. Call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit 56david.com. Get on the road to financial freedom. Got a whole lot of people who want to talk about the Democrats' black voter problem. Before I go to the callers, and I want to hear from you, Dwight McKee, and then you, Attorney Mark Fancher. Dwight, black male voter problem or black problem for the Democrats?
Well, I don't think that there's a black male voter problem. I think there's a Democratic delivery problem. I'm with Robert on this. Is that the way the Democratic Party operates is a party of inclusion, and the way it survives and expands is widening the base and bringing in other groups, whether it's the the gay crowd or the ethnic groups, Hispanic crowds. And we're like Rosie Parks. When a new group gets on the bus, we have to change our seat. We have to move further to the back. And so the resources that they commit to us somehow always get transferred to whatever new group that they're bringing in. Black people see that, but particularly black men see it, and they're not fooled by that. So we see them bring in a million people from Europe and give them jobs and housing and clothes and education. And it's always at our expense because we can't get anything ourselves. And black men are pretty much violated by that. Black men have the blunt of racism is in this economy affects black men. We get shot more than anybody else. There's more of us in jail than anybody else. We are the victims of racism more than anybody else. We've gotten hung more than anybody else. But the Democrats tell us that just is keep on holding on and wait for your turn. Somehow our turn never comes. And so when it's time for us to have jobs, oh yeah, but we need to share this with these South Americans who the Guatemalans need to come in. It's time for us to have free education. Well, no, we need to expand this and just give everybody a break. You can't have scholarships. Or if you ain't been to school and you get a $10,000 forgiveness of debts. Well, most of us ain't been to school. So we don't get the benefits of that. Is we are become, in many ways, the throwaways when it's time for the deliverables. And it started with Obama for a lot of black men. It's when Obama made a commitment to the Jewish community and put money on the table. He made a community to the gay community and put votes on put legislation on the table. When he talked to black men, he said to us, y'all need to be better fathers to take care of your children. You know, it's y'all's fault. It's y'all's problem, y'all's issue. It's just, no, we don't have a black male problem. At some levels, it's not about how we feel about Stacey. It's how we feel about ourselves. At some levels, you have to have your own sense of dignity and your own sense of self-esteem and just go for who's going to be best for you. Stacey has said all of those things, but they've always said all those things. They've just never done any of them for black men, for the most part. We've always had to share everything with white women, black women, Hispanic women, gay people. They've never compensated us for the brunt of the pain. And that's why black men just don't, when they call now, don't just jump.
Well, you know what? I want you all to continue to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Devin, I need you to reach out to John Nichols. I really think we need to extend this conversation. Panel, can you stay with me? Everybody?
I do have to.
Okay, well, no, well, hold on, because I want to bring Attorney Fancher in and these callers, because people are calling. They really, really are, and I want to let them. I want to hear them, but I want to hear Attorney Fancher. Attorney Fancher, your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what Brother Dwight McKee just said, with much of it, and I don't propose to try and explain or apologize or rationalize the analysis or the viewpoints of many black men who may not be voting. I can only talk from my personal perspective and only talk about why I think that many of them are justified in taking the position that they take. As a Christian, an honest Christian, as a committed socialist, I have to reject the Democratic Party outright, as I reject the Republican Party outright. Both of them are capitalist parties that are out to protect the interests of the corporations, the elite, and they care nothing about working people, oppressed people, communities of color. They really don't, notwithstanding their rhetoric, and it's demonstrated by their actions. So both parties, I think, need to be eliminated. I'll start from that. But also, even if you don't see things as I see them, you're just a poor black man on the street who is looking at the political scene and is approached by somebody asking for your vote. You know, you have to take stock of the fact that just as we said on this program a few days ago, there aren't that many black men in colleges. The black women outnumber them. And the presumption that many make is that, well, they're just not achieving, they're not trying. The fact is that so many of them are in prison. When they make missteps, they get the most serious consequences. They get locked away en masse. It's not that they're making more mistakes than white young men make, but they're called on it. They're arrested for it. They're convicted for it. They're sent away. And so lots of them are in prison. So that's why they can't be in college. And so if I'm a young black man on the street, I have to take note of that and take note of the fact that this has happened many times when the Democratic Party has been in control. I have to take note of the fact that during the Obama administration, that's when the issue of the relationship between the black community and police really came to the fore. I mean, it was always known, everybody knew about it, but it really became prominent during that period, and really nothing was done about it. That's a problem that continues with us up to this very day. We have to take note of the fact, if you're not just a brother on the street, you're an educated brother. You're someone who's really trying to make something for yourself, trying to make something out of your life, and you're striving. And you've enrolled at Morehouse, and where the creme de la creme, the best of who we have to offer goes to college. And then President Obama comes down and tells you that you need to be a more responsible black man and take care of your family,
take care of your kids,
and work hard. Take care of them. I mean, what are you to think about that? And if you've got a political head on your shoulders, if you look at things beyond just your personal circumstance, you look at the Democratic Party and see that they're the ones that are the ones who have militarized the African continent. They're the ones that established, and who really, they didn't establish AFRICOM, U.S. Africa Command, but they're the ones that made it live. They put military bases and installations in just about every country in Africa, not for the purpose of protecting Africa from terrorism, but for protecting corporate interests from the efforts made by African revolutionaries and others to try and get control of Africa's wealth and resources for the betterment and for the improvement and for the advancement of the African world globally. You see that it's during Obama's administration when the use of drones became a high art form. I mean, he became the king of drones. If you're concerned about what may happen to you career-wise, you see these continuing expansions and military interventions and all of these things, and what does that mean for you in terms of the potential for you being swept up in that? So there are a lot of reasons why the Democratic Party should be rejected, and I think we make an error as a community when we conclude that getting Democrats elected is some kind of victory. That's not, what does that mean? I mean, just because they're Democrats and we put them in office, if they are part of a capitalist party that exploits and oppresses and has done nothing for our community, what kind of victory is that? And so why look that way?
CK, you got to go before I get the call, because I've got a lot of callers. CK, I'm going to give you closing thoughts before you leave, but I've got people calling in. Let me go to Renee. Renee, what's on your mind? Before I get to Savannah, who I asked to call in. Thank you, Savannah. Hey, Renee.
Good morning on this chilly Chicago day. Santita, I just want to say that even though some blacks follow the Democratic Party loyally and some vote for them because they seem to be the lesser of two evils, as I've been told for a long time, black people, especially black men, have been the whipping boys and the scapegoats of the Democratic Party for a long time. Democratic leaders have called black men predators. They've enacted policies to lock them up and throw away the key, which has really had a devastating effect on neighborhoods like mine in North Lawndale and in Garfield, where we had some of the highest incarceration rates. So we shipped people down to farm towns down in Southern Illinois so we can boost their economy off the backs of the people from my neighborhood, robbing people in my neighborhood of eligible men to marry and of scholars and future leaders because they are locked up. They've prevented Black men and women who've been convicted in some states, and they've prevented them from being able to vote for life once they get out. I haven't heard the Democrats pushing policies. I haven't seen them doing anything to push policies that will make it where everybody has the right to vote, whether you're locked up or not. I'm talking about citizens because New York is letting non-citizens vote. But I want every man and woman to be able to vote. If you're in, Vermont and another state, you can vote while you're incarcerated. So why can't our people, when they get convicted of a crime, guilty or not, why are they stripped for life? And why aren't the Democrats doing anything about this? It's easier for a white man with a criminal conviction to get a job than a Black man without a criminal record. It's easier for a white man who dropped out of high school to get a job than it is for a Black man who is in college. It's easier for a white without a college degree to get a job. It's twice as likely that they'll be employed as it is for a Black man with a college degree. There's something wrong with that. I don't hear the Democrats or the Republicans addressing these issues. Oh, I thought I got cut off. I got cut off. Lastly, Santita, can you see? Okay. So, and while I sit back, I see not only the policies they've passed that hurt us and that continue to hurt us, I see how these people in the government are making policies to give themselves a leg up. Like you're making white privileged men who had no problem getting jobs anyway, you're making them a protected class because they took their sexuality out of the closet and now, oops, I'm protected. I can get these jobs. It's benefiting them. But it doesn't seem to work the same way for Black men of color because they're still not getting the jobs unless they're parading them in front of everybody on television as the example of what Black manhood looks like, because I see more people represented on television these days from the LGBTQ plus community than I see regular, not gay, I guess you call them straight.
Well, not regular, but straight.
Black men and women.
Gay people are regular
right,
people.
Right. That's why I changed the Santita. But I just see policies where they're robbing us, they're not helping us, and then when they do say they're going to do something for us, and they get elected like Joe Biden did, they push us to the back burner when we, like Chappelle said, we needed the George Floyd Act. We need these Voting Rights Acts. We need the police, not for him to get up there and support them with them killing people daily now. We needed him to say there are good policemen and there are some rotten ones who are brutalizing people, especially Black people, and we need to hold them accountable. We need to get rid of these, they had the police constitution or whatever that makes it where they get privileges that you wouldn't get if you were a regular person who shot someone on the street. Why do we want to protect these people? We need to make sure we have more people who look like us in these jobs, not just look like us, but who care about us. You can be yellow, green, whatever, and care about everybody and be fair and get the jobs. But they're not doing that. So it's not just Black men who might be pulling apart, pulling away from the Democrats. There are a lot of people who are dissatisfied. And they show us they care more about the corporations than they do about the employees of the corporations. They fund other people over progressives who, if they had a little bit of support from the Democratic Party, they could win their elections. They've shown us who they are, and people don't vote in primaries.
Well, stay right there, because I tell you what, you still have to vote, because that is the only way you get your voice heard. But I think we have to fight even harder inside of the party. That's why I was pushing against Miss Cheney yesterday, Congresswoman Cheney. I'm like, look, she needs to stay a Republican and fight her fight. She lost her fight in the Republican Party. Let's stay there and fight another day. I don't need you over here messing up what I already have enough of a fight. I literally have 1.5 minutes. CK, you got them before you go.
Absolutely. So I think what everybody has said, even though we come at it from different angles, is the issue is with the Democratic Party. Mike, I take exception to saying when it comes to the gubernatorial election here in Georgia, because I do believe that as a community we can come together and elect Stacey Abrams. A lot of the concerns that Black men have, Black women share. These are not just Black men concerns. The George Floyd Death and Policing Act, no stronger advocates than Black men and Black women together. Voting Rights Act together. All of those things that impact our community together. And by the way, Stacey Abrams is on point with those issues too. So we give everybody else a pass and elect everybody else and give them a chance. Why not Stacey Abrams? Put aside any gender issues you might have, any questions about how she looks. Look at the quality of the candidate and what she's done for the state of Georgia. This is not in dispute, what she's done with the state of Georgia. Her looks may be in dispute for you, but what she has done for the state of Georgia is not in dispute. And it's not in dispute that she's the best candidate. So why not give her a shot? Why not, as a community, come together, Black men and Black women, and not let people divide us? These issues are issues we can overcome. We have overcome, and we should overcome in Georgia, because what happens in Georgia is going to dictate what happens the next 2 years, certainly, and this administration and beyond.
And of course, she will be on WAOK today at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. Of course, Attorney Daryl Jones will be with Attorney Barbara Arnwine on WOL at 12 noon today. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay right there. John Nichols has agreed to come with us another day so that we can continue this conversation. Savannah, I hope you are still there. I hope you all will continue to call in, because everybody wants to weigh in on this. Everybody's very emotional. I've stepped back because I want you to have your say. That's what this show is for. That's what this platform is for you to have your say. People need to hear, not just talk about Black voters and our aspirations. We need to talk to Black voters, and we need to let you speak. That's how the Democrats can win. That's how they can grow. And they need to know that they can only win if we win. And if we don't win, there's trouble. And that's what we've got right now. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show. But everybody, you got to vote. You must do that. But your voting is the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. It's not the beginning of the end. You have got to fight inside of this party. You have to do it. You have to do it. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Thank you, CK.
She left already.
Okay, all right. Okay, Chappelle, why don't you call in? Because everybody, all of you call in. Because I'm watching some of these comments, and boy, you all have a lot to say. Is Savannah still there?
Savannah, yes, she's still here.
Okay, tell her I am coming to her.
Okay.
773-763-9278, everybody. You all, we're on Facebook Live. You feel free to engage. Do you all have anything Robert? You and CK are seeing this a little bit differently.
Yeah, but I think that this is where perspective comes in, is why you have to have a big tent and a lot of people around the table, because people bring in their own biases, their own history, their own flavor to things. I think once you get a lot of people around the table to discuss the exact same issue, you can get all sides of the perspective and come to a resolution. I think that's the biggest issue, that they've realized a little late in the game what it's time to get a lot of people around the table in order to address some of these issues. I think one of the things we didn't get to talk about earlier was Stacey Abrams did something that was kind of strange for a candidate during the primary, which was she won her primary race without competition. There was no one running against her. So she started endorsing down ballot races. So for lieutenant governor, for example, you had Kwanzaa Hall, former city councilman from Georgia, running against Charlie Bailey, I believe, and she endorsed the white guy in that race. And then you have D. Dawkins Hagler, who's been on this show, running against B. Nguyen in that race, and she endorsed the Asian lady in that race. And on down the line, there were many people in the activist community who felt that the nominee for governor should not be picking winners and losers, particularly which I don't think she endorsed any of the black men who were running besides Willie Bodie. So little things like that can start to metastasize into a narrative if they're not nipped in the bud early. And I'm glad to see the campaign turning those things around. She did have a meeting with Frank Ski and some prominent black men recently. She had a meeting with Young Jock, the rapper and radio host recently, with some African-American men. So I don't think by any reason it's too late, and that's why I don't understand why they're starting to put out this narrative that it's black men's fault 6 weeks before the election. Spend that time going to get more black men to vote for you. You still got time to win this thing. It's only an 8-point race. So hopefully they take that and they turn it around going into November.
Daryl, Dwight, Mark, you want to say anything before we go back up on the air?
Well, Santina, one of the interesting things, I think, is that there's an ABC News poll that just came out, and it indicates that 55% of the black Georgia voters said they intend to vote, only 55%. And then you have 72% of the white Georgia voters saying that they intend to vote. And it becomes really interesting because it's the apathy that appears to be there. And I don't know that it's related exclusively to Stacey Abrams, but clearly there's some type of apathy with black voters that they're identifying.
60 seconds, everyone.
Well, let me ask you this, Daryl.
And it's focused on black millennials.
Well, is it apathy or is it anger and resentment? See, apathy is like, I don't care. Anger and resentment is, I've delivered for you and you're not delivering for me. I think, because black people have been so disempowered, we're not allowed to be angry. You shoot me up in a church, I'm supposed to forgive you the next day in court. It's just crazy stuff I've ever heard in my life. Black folks get mad. And black folks know how to show you that they are angry. Folks get angry.
10 seconds, everybody.
And I think that sometimes, I don't know if we're as apathetic as we are mad and like, you know what? Stand by. Ooh, this is a lot for me. Good job.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Whew, you all have a lot to say. It's Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. We've got attorney Mark Fancher with us today. Brilliant attorney. I want you to go on to Amazon and get his book, The Negroes of Friends Village. The Negroes of Friends Village. And, of course, listen to C.K. Hoffler. She will be on WAOK today at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Attorney Daryl Jones will be on WOL out of D.C. today. You can hear it everywhere at 12 noon, 11 o'clock, 12 noon Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. And, of course, Attorney Robert Patillo, WAOK, every Sunday from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time, and Dwight McKee. Whew, a lot to talk about today, everybody. Let me get some of these callers in. I want you to respond to them. Savannah, I asked you to call in, and girl, I'm so glad that you did. Fania, I wish you would too. What's going on, Savannah?
Hello.
You had so much. I was like, I can't read all this, girl. You got to say it.
Right. Look, I said, let me go ahead and call in today.
Thank you. Now, where are you?
Okay. I am in Germantown, Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, I was about to say Germantown. You know, you're in Memphis. Come on, you're in Memphis.
Yes, right. So I appreciate this conversation.
Why?
This morning.
Why do you appreciate? Before you give your comment, why do you appreciate it?
Well, I appreciate it because I tell you, I'm a politic junkie. Okay, I love all things politics, and since I've been watching your show, you have given me the progressive perspective. I didn't understand it. If I continued to listen to maybe like mainstream media, like I would kind of be side-eyeing you guys like, hey, calm down. They're not going to listen progressive if you keep talking like that. But as I keep listening, I understand now. And
now, Savannah, what do you understand that you didn't understand before?
Okay, so I understand that, number one, you can't really reach people by talking over their head and not attending to the issues that relate to them. I think progressives do a good job with bringing up issues that, like, concern moderates, have the other people, the list, you can quote like the names or whatever, like moderates, conservatives, however they work, whatever, Democrats, Republicans. They don't bring up a lot of the issues that you guys bring up. And I like to tell my husband sometimes, and I like to tell people around me, I say, now, when it comes to some topics, I may be a little bit conservative. When it comes to others, I'm a little bit moderate. But when it comes to social issues, I'm very progressive.
But haven't you found that is how Black people are? Because socially, we are very conservative. We align with the Democrats on some, not all, social issues.
Right, but when it comes to most social issues, I'm very progressive, and I think that now I can go to what I called in to say.
Of course.
I think one of the big, everybody who talked on your platform, they spoke well, they touched on issues that were good, but the common thing is that we all want to run from the issue of, is there a problem amongst Black voters and Black male voters? And the answer is yes. And the reason why is because we run from the topic a lot, so there's not a solution being presented. We have to accept that a lot of working class Black males, they have to disassociate when it comes to politics, because it's a slap in the face for them. It's a blow to them every time they see all these issues and things that everybody brought up. Like, nobody, like, the brain will protect you. It's no way to continue to, like, support and focus and get into things. It just seems like it's not working for you. I think that when they disassociate, they blend political issues, they blend local, state, and national politics, and they don't realize that, what you do on a local level, like, that really benefits or hurts you. What you do on the state level when you vote, that really, like, the presidential elections are always the big hurrah, but nobody's taking time to do, like, the grassroots movement. Nobody's taking time to break down to them and support, like, we bring up Obama and, like, a lot of things that maybe, he misspoke about, or, he was a little bit over, but we got to also realize that, how does Obama relate to Black males in the working class? How does he relate to them? His closest connection was Michelle, because, she grew up in the south side of Chicago. So, of course, he knew the issues of the women who were, like, middle working class. But a lot of Black males, they're being in working class, they're being left out. And no, they're not voting. I wouldn't vote either if I felt like them. Especially when we saw, like, our last president get in office, and he focused his message to, like, the middle working class conservatives. And when he got in office, he seemed like he was, doing everything for them. Nobody has done that for, these guys who are in working class that are Black men. So in their mind, they're like, I don't see no value in Democratic politics, because we want to be rich too. And
I think, Savannah, I think people want jobs, right? I mean, you need tangibles, right? I mean, because it's not just to be rich, folks. It's like I want a job. I mean, I want my black colleges funded. I should not, on your watch, be closing dormitories at Morehouse, and you should not be going to Morehouse telling Morehouse.
Black males who are not voting, they don't care nothing about no college going.
Yeah.
These guys want you to come.
No, hold on, Dwight. I want Savannah to complete her thought, and then you can respond to her. Savannah?
I'll tell you this. They're not looking at no dorm. We can start at something as simple as aesthetics in the communities that are predominantly black. I've been to predominantly black working class communities and predominantly conservative working class communities. And the aesthetics are different, okay? They're very different. They don't understand it. But they don't have time to sit down and understand what's going on. They don't have time to sit down and understand, who you vote for as governor matters. Who you vote for as your congressperson matters. Who you vote for as your state. They don't understand it. And nobody is doing the grassroots movement. We didn't even start.
But Savannah, we put down grassroots movements. Let me say this, and I want you to stay right there because I want Dwight to respond to you and everybody else to be engaged because I have another caller. Chappelle called back, and I want you to stay right there. We put a lot of things away when we got a black president, Savannah, and that was a mistake.
Oh, let me tell you something. That second term, because I had time. I used to be a teacher before I got married, but that first year, the first term when President Obama was in office, I had a chance to focus in. And I'll tell you, that was the one thing I used to really, really get very burnt up about. Because I'm like, if you guys don't keep their attention, when it's time to vote again, they're not coming out because they're not focused. So if you don't if we just solely focus on the topic, let's go to Georgia to Stacey Abrams, and she wants black men to support her. Someone will have to create a message that will get their attention again. I'll tell you this one thing.
Okay, but Savannah, Savannah, hold on, because I want Dwight to respond to you because I get these other calls because I want you to talk. I want everybody else to be engaged too. But I know you do. I'm not mad at you, Savannah, because you've been typing away today, Dwight. That's why I said Savannah got to call in. And stay right there, Savannah. You got a seat at the table. Stay right there. Dwight?
Let me talk local for a minute, since you want to talk local. I live in Chicago. Most of the policemen that arrest us and beat us and shoot us are Democrats. The people that put us out of the unions here so that they get all of the jobs and we have none are Democrats. The Democrats here closed 50 schools, took the TIF money and sent it downtown to the wealthy Republicans and left our kids uneducated. They are Democrats. When people tell me I need to have some loyalty to Democrats, it's an insult to me as a black man because the Republicans may affect us. And again, I'm from Chicago, at a policy level, big microcosm, but democratic racism that affects my life every day, all day long. The races that I see every day, mostly, that affect my life are democratic. So I have no party loyalty. I'm just trying to make this thing work for me and my children and my family as best I can and survive both the Republicans at the top and the Democrats at the bottom.
Let me bring up Chappelle. Stay right there, Savannah. Chappelle, what's on your mind? You are so hot you had to call back. Okay.
Yes, that's it. Because I think that, we are not really addressing the issue. For almost 500 years, America has been very, very bad to black people. I mean, That's a nice way. I mean, they have never supported anything to uplift Black people. The last probably significant change was in the 60s with LBJ. And so we have been told to hold on, wait a minute, it's not your turn for so long. And now it's like we already know that you're not going to do anything to help us. And I posed the question yesterday, what is the Democratic Party saying to Black people? What is the message to all of us, not just Black men? Because when you turn down the Civil Rights Act and you don't push that, when you know that us having the ability to vote is definitely going to garnish votes for your party to help your people win, and you don't push it, what message is that sending back to us that you don't support it? When the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act came up, when we're sitting up here being accosted daily, being killed and murdered by police, and you don't address that important issue, and what are you're kicking us in the teeth again? I'm tired of Democrats pissing on me and telling me it's right. And the thing is that we cannot continue to allow this to happen. I agree with Mark. Both of the parties need to be completely dissolved because they have been bought by corporations. And we see that the corporate interests are the only interests that are being resolved. They're the only people. The rich are still getting richer and the poor are still getting poorer. And now they're trying to reverse what happened. When you talk about what happened with Obama and his presidency and our lack of force against him, what it caused us to lose over 1,000 seats in the House, and then it also, across the country, and then it also caused us to have all of these conservative judges be put in place. And he didn't fight for any of that. He didn't fight to seek the people that could help us. And so my thing is that I always look at what's the wisdom, what's in it for me, because now I take all of this personal because of the fact that every person that is elected, I research them directly. I don't talk about parties, and if this party is I'm going to support it, vote straight down Democratic line, because I know that the Democrats have been compromised and have been compromised for a long time. So when we see the disenchantment in the Black community, not just Black men, it is Black women, it is young voters, all of that. And that's because they do not cater to our needs. They do not listen to our needs, and they're not fulfilling any obligations and promises. And this last time, when they begged us to go out here and vote to push Georgia over the edge and get the Senate and the House, and we promised to give you all this, they ain't did a damn thing. And so now
watch your mouth, your pearl.
I'm sorry. They're gonna come 2 weeks, Santita. I guarantee you're gonna see a push in 2 weeks before that November election, where all the Black leadership, all the high-ranking Democratic Party members begging Black folks to come out, just do it this one time. This one time. We got y'all. We're going to do it again. We're going to make sure we get all what y'all wanted. This is how they do. And I'm here to tell you, Black people go tell them to kick rocks. And I'm being nice by saying kick rocks.
Now, wait a minute. Is that what you're hearing with people? Is that what you're hearing on the ground?
Black people have no desire to vote at all.
Now, let me ask you this, because I just asked, hold on, Chaparral, hold on. Is this apathy or is it anger?
Anger. Because they realize their situation is not going to change whether it's a Republican or Democrat in office.
Now, stay right there. Hold on, Chaparral. Hold on. I want you and Savannah to stay right there. People are calling for this to be for us to have a part 2 of this discussion with all of y'all. Daryl, that's what I meant when I remember I used to go to seminars when I was growing up, talking about voter apathy and blah, blah, blah. But, the more that I saw, I wondered, I said, is this apathy or is this anger? I said, because no one ever wants to deal with Black anger. Apathy kind of puts cotton on top of it, softens it up a lot. No one wants to deal with Black folks in anger. Anger with slavery, angry with racism, Jim Crow, being routinely treated unfairly, the wealth gap, all that, Black women having to work 263 days plus 365 to get what white men make in 365 days. No one wants to talk about that. So what do we do about this anger as you and Barbara Arnwine go across the country tirelessly fighting for our voting rights? I mean, speak to Chaparral.
Well, yeah, no, Chaparral is definitely on point. And, we do have a lot of Black voters that are just extremely cynical, frustrated. And it's not just with the Democratic Party or with Republicans for that matter. It's because they've seen the institutions not working for them when they have pushed so hard to make change. But, what we know is that, politics is not a single issue, not a single inning sport, right? This is something that's for the long haul. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You've got to stay in the game because we know that if the Black voters step out of the game, that then you're going to have policies that are going to be put in place that are much worse than the policies that we're pushing for. So I think that the whole push has got to be, right now, you're dealing with the U.S. Senate, you're dealing with the one vote majority. You got to get to the point where you have representatives that you can hold accountable, that you give yourself the cushion to get across the policies that you want to have in place. So what we push right now, through the Transforming Justice Coalition and many of the other grassroots organizations that someone was making reference to, we're on the ground. We're pushing. And what we're pushing is to get more Black voters out, to get more young, the millennials, the Gen Zers, not just out to vote, but running for the office so that they can pick up on the principle and stay on the principle and be certain that the issues that we want to have addressed are being addressed. That's what the push is right now, Santita. And that's what I think our push has got to be, is to be certain that we get the millennials, the Gen Zs, and those that are on point with our positions in social and other areas, to be certain that they're able to have we have their backs, they have our backs, they stay with us while they're in office, and we continue to hold them accountable and try to put more people like them in place so that we can certainly build the base that we need in order to have the policies that we want passed on, whether it's state level or a federal level or even a local level, Santita.
I only have a few more minutes before we go off the air here, but we're still going to be on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and see it, Santita Jackson and Friends. So everybody stay with us. But I want to get Savannah, you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Down there in Germantown, which is Memphis. It's just a fancy part of Memphis. Fancy part of Memphis. Love it, love it. I've got 1 minute for you. Before we have to go off the air, but we're going to stay on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. What's your closing thought in 1 minute?
Me, Savannah?
Yeah.
Okay, my only thought is just we just have to, if we just accept that many Black men may have disassociated away from politics just because there's a lack of understanding and a lack of time to understand. And maybe instead of focusing on the Democratic Party, we can focus on the people and their plans and platforms that they have and try to push those things more, where it will get their attention. It will help them to understand what's going on, and it will motivate them to come out and vote. We have to accept that there is a problem, and then we can have a solution. Okay. But the more you say, oh, it's not a problem, because one thing about Black women versus Black men is I don't think it's apathy or anger. I think it's pain. Mm-hmm. Most Black women are going to keep going in spite of the pain. Black men, they will check out and be like, I'm not doing it. Well,
it's all grounded in pain and disappointment. Yes. And stay right there, Miss Savannah. Stay right there. Mark Fancher, have 1 minute for you.
Yeah, I think that as long as we're expecting that we're going to, because of our support, get what we need from the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, we've completely missed what's going on.
Right.
And the interest who get the support, who get what they want, are those who have power. Whether they're major corporations or elite families or whoever, it's people who have power. And when you come to communities of color, particularly black communities, we have no power at all. So our focus should be less on trying to vote, trying to do this, trying to do that, and it should be more on trying to get some power. And we get power by looking outside of the political paradigm that this country has established. We got to get outside of that box and start looking around the world, not just around this country, but around the world, for those who are potential allies, people who will work with us, people who have access to natural resources that are very valuable, who, after working with us, coordinating with us, will put us in the position of making some demands that people have to listen to. Africa is the wealthiest continent on the planet when it comes to natural resources. We need to focus our primary efforts on kicking the multinational corporations and foreign interests out of that continent and getting control of it for Africans in Africa and African people around the world who are the victims of the transatlantic slave trade. We do that, we win the ball game. And we don't even have to worry about Democratic and Republican parties anymore because we're calling the shots.
Well, and I hope the shots that we call will be righteous ones, because I've seen black tyrants too, but I'm totally feeling you. An empowered Africa is going to empower all blacks in the diaspora. Stay right there, everybody. I know you all want to continue this conversation, and we will, right here on the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube, on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. I'm sharing it also with Reverend Jesse Jackson's page, but I want you to go on D-Ray and Dave and everybody, share, Daryl, share, L. Stanley, share the show right now. Please, Tina, share the show, everybody share the show. Having this conversation, I want everybody to talk. What Tina said, so true, Savannah. She's in Oxford, Mississippi. Hey, girl, how you doing down there? Everybody like and share the show. Going to have some more of this talk. I want real talk because that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward. Dwight, I can't wait to hear your comments on the other side. And everyone check out Daryl at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on WOL, Attorney Daryl Jones and Attorney Barbara Arnwine, Attorney C.K. Hoffler at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time on WAOK in Atlanta. Robert Patillo, stay right here. I just want some closing thoughts from everybody right here on the Santita Jackson Show. Devin, thanks for a great show. God bless you, everybody. Love you so much. Stay right there, Savannah and Chaparral. Getting closing thoughts. Love you, everybody. Have a great day. Robert Patillo, what I want you to respond to what you've been hearing.
Well, I think this is part of the larger conversation that has to happen within the Democratic Party that the Democratic Party has absolutely no interest in having. There's a video right now of Nancy Pelosi speaking with a group of Latinos. And so she's come in to do the standard Latino speech. I don't know how many people have seen it. It's going viral. And the Latino students come in and just start shouting her down, talking about the fact that they've done absolutely nothing on immigration reform. They've done nothing on the pathway to citizenship. They've done nothing for the dreamers. We got to do the same damn thing. I don't know why we think we have to sit down and put on nice suits and do little prayer circles whenever the Democratic Party comes around as if they are royalty or something along those lines, because all they do is the same thing every election cycle. They come in, they tell you the Republicans are racist. They don't really give you a good reason to vote for them. And they try to whip up and gin up the black vote just on the idea that the Republicans are going to come and bring slavery back or something along those lines. You have to go beyond that for this new generation, that you can't run the same play over and over again and expect a different result. And so this is kind of the genesis of both their problems with the black community, but also their even deeper problems with black male voters. And this concept that they're going to try to pin this on black men is even more ridiculous, because what we're also seeing is a drop in Democratic vote share with Latino voters. So you're not getting the Latino vote. If you look at Nevada, if you look at Texas, if you look at Arizona in particular, they're losing vote share with the Latino voting community. You're not campaigning to black men, but then the little small subset of the vote that we have is our fault if anything bad happens. At the start, I remember with Doug Jones when he won that race. I think he got 95% of the vote from black women, and they said, well, black women delivered that seat for him. But he also got 90% of the vote from black men. But they didn't just say black folks did. They started separating us out then and trying to turn this into a black men versus black women event, which has never been. And we see this continue towards turn into the new culture war issues, turn into the new team light skin versus team dark skin down the line.
Dwight, do you have anything? I mean, what have you thought of this conversation today?
That what happens is that happens with both parties is that they use black men vote to make things better, to make things better for everybody but black men. Is that everybody benefits off of is when we become the margin and the swing vote and the Democrats and even some levels the Republicans win, what happens is there's a benefit, but it's a benefit to everybody other than us. The gays benefit, the Chinese benefit, most of the Asians benefit, the Hispanics benefit, black women benefit. The only ones who don't benefit are black men. And so in most of these political campaigns, we are just used. I totally agree with Mark today. I think he's right on. Until we see our interests as beyond even American politics and understand that racism and the slave trade was all European constructs, and the people over here who are an extension because they're Europeans who just use America as part of this universal European construct, and start seeing ourselves in the context of a diaspora and Africa and the third world and those countries that have been victims of this European construct, and begin to bond with them as opposed to think somehow these extended Europeans over here are going to cut us in, then nothing is going to happen. We're just going to continue to be used and used and used and used. We have to see ourselves beyond this country in Democratic and Republican. I agree with you, Mark, wholeheartedly.
Daryl, you have anything? Daryl?
Yeah, I listen to all that's being said, and I tell you, I think it really does with regards to burnout stuff. That, we've got to figure out a way to force our anger and frustration to be addressed. Because I think what I hear being said, and Dwight saying, and to some degree Mark saying, is that the anger, the frustration is not being addressed. We're just being played. And, every time there's an election, they wait until we get to the point where we're just really frustrated. They put a little fig leaf, a little, token out there, and then take it back after they get your vote and have you moving forward. So a large part of it is going to be certainly, I think, electing officials that really will continue to be in our corner and fighting for the interests of the African American community. I think that's a large part of it. Otherwise, and not selling us out in such a way that they're going for the power of it and trying to move up at the expense of the black community. And I think that's a large part of what we've got to be willing to and able to accomplish. We've got to have that push. And I think that the poll that comes out of Georgia that we were talking about, the ABC News poll, we're saying that black men and black millennials really are that stumbling block for the Democratic Party because they're frustrated, they're angry, they've had it, and they're tired of being played. And I think that's part of what we see being played out now. And that's got to be a focus. This just got to be.
Savannah? You still there, hon?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Your thought?
I agree. I still agree with what everyone is saying. I still think that the group of black men that, let's say, Stacey Abrams was directing, I need you to come out and vote for me. those men who have made these declarations or these vows of I'm not voting again, they want to feel. I like what he said. They don't want to feel used. They want to believe that you will work for me too. You won't forget about me. But I think the compassion of it all is that we all need to realize that people coming out to the polls and voting doesn't mean that they understand what's going on. And if it looks like you are disregarding them after the vote is over, then no, they're not coming back. So maybe there will have to be someone who communicates to them that if it seems like I'm not addressing your issues, figure out a way where they have an open door policy where somebody, a group of them, people can come to you and say, hey, we feel disregarded. And then there can be sit downs from time to time, because we will have to start being relatable to these group of people. Even if we just get little, like, go back to little, just a minute, baby. Even if we go back to like the little grassroots movements and have groups of people in place to address the concerns of these people, instead of us having to yell, on these kind of platforms out. You see how everybody wants Biden to know, oh, you're disregarding us, but where's the open door for us to go and say this and be heard? So we have to do this on the local and the state level too. The same way you feel about Biden, if you're in politics, that's the way a lot of these black people, men who say they're not voting, feel about you. Do you have an open door policy where they can come to you and they can say, hey, we feel disregarded here in Atlanta? That's why we don't want to come and vote. And I think that I know that she does, but do they hear it and do they understand?
Well, this is where you have to take to the streets. You can't have these little cute meets, okay? That is whenever we have made progress, we have been marching and we have been very active. And I will say over the past.
One more thing?
Well, but sure, but okay,
So, and I'm going to say this. I know I'll be the eyeball in.
That's okay.
But I really believe that Obama had a good blueprint. But no blueprint is perfect. It's a lot of us who can go and take that, cross out what didn't work, the stuff that did work. We need to keep doing it. Add in what we believe will substitute that didn't work and move forward. But just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I think that that's where we have gone. That's why the president, after he left, was able to get where he got, is because we threw the baby out with the bathwater. We turned our noses up. But we have to have more compassion because all of us have.
But what did we throw? What did we throw away? What did we throw away?
Well, what we did, we started saying, "Oh, the Democratic Party." Well, is it the people?
But Savannah, we didn't do that. When he was president, they lost more than 1,000 seats, and the Democratic Party itself went. No, wait. The Democratic Party itself could not make payroll. They went broke. That is why when Hillary Clinton ran in 2016 and they were saying, oh, all this money she's putting in the party, they had to personally, the Clintons had to personally guarantee the party because the Democratic Party was actually broke. And the Obama campaign would not turn over their voting list. Now, we did that when Reverend ran for president. All the people he registered, y'all got them. They did not do that. That's a problem.
And the thing is, Santita, what he did was he started Obama instead of the DCCC and everybody sending their money directly to Obama. They started sending directly to Obama, and he created Obama for America right after he was elected. That's what he did. So all the money you thought you were funding the Democratic Party, but you were actually funding his personal PAC. And so that's what happened. So that's why nobody was actually giving money to the DCCC, which is what Santita was saying, that the Democratic Party was totally broke. They didn't have any money to run any campaigns or anything. In the
they didn't have. Wait a minute. They could not make payroll. So the Clintons had to go call their friends and dig into their money I'm not an apologist for them or anything. I'm just telling you what actually happened. It's been written.
So I'm only focused on getting the people out to vote.
No, but I just want you to have the whole.
What I wanted to say to you, Savannah, is that the Democrats, before this November election, if they want to get people out to vote, they have to give Black people some tangible policy. Like he needs to be signing some executive orders today.
Right.
Only way he's going to get. That's the only way he's going to get Black people out in November. Because right now, like I was saying earlier, there is no reason for us to go out and vote. Y'all can sit up here and say all day, you have to vote. And everybody, there, I love there. Please come out and vote. Stacey needs you. Mandela needs you. Everybody. But our lives are not changing, no matter who's in office. So they're tired of all these broken promises. So that's why I said, Biden needs to do some executive orders if he wants to encourage people to come out and vote. Or you will see a landslide, losses, Democrats across all 50 states will lose. And it's going to be sad. I'm going to vote regardless. I don't want people to think I'm discouraging people to vote. But what I'm saying is that if they want to get the missing link, the percentages, the small gaps to come out and vote, he needs to do some of the executive orders immediately.
And let me say to Arlene, she said, yes, Savannah, there was so much good about the Obama administration that we must build on. I hear you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, but nobody's saying that there were not good things, but there were also things that went very, very wrong. And if you don't correct those, see, when I see my mother, Savannah, one thing I appreciate about her, my father's going to tell you everything that you are. My mother's going to tell you everything that you are not. Now, there are pluses to all of that because he's not uncritical. But my mother's going to tell you, you know what? If she has not given me a criticism before I leave her presence, I know it's going to come. It's going to come the next time I see her, Savannah, or when I pick up the phone to speak to her again. And she said, because I love you, I'm going to tell you what I see that's wrong so you can correct it. To not mention that we lost more than 1,000 seats during his presidency, and it wasn't just because of white racism. No. There were some things that they did that did not work, and we've not done a proper forensics examination of it. So we're still bumbling and fumbling. You can't be above criticism. And so I hope that we will begin to let that go. But you have to start criticizing with love now, everybody. Because what we've been doing is we tear people apart. We pick them apart. That's not how you criticize people. First of all, search your heart and clean it out. As your intention, as Pastor Stephen Thurston said at the top, are you trying to build someone or tear them down? If you're trying to build them, clean out your heart so that they can get the message. We need to stop having to lead off every discussion we have about President Obama. Well, I support him. I love him. Of course I did. We did, of course. And there were things that he did that were right, and there were some things that he did that were wrong. I agree with him on some things on policy, and I disagree with him on a whole lot. I know him personally. I've had a lot of arguments with him. And it does not mean that I don't support him. It means that, no, I disagree with you on this. But I also knew he was the centrist and I'm a progressive, so we're going to disagree. And moving the party to the right, because see, he was the DLC selection. The DLC was set up to undo Jesse Jackson and what he did. He was their guy. That's just a fact. He was one of the DLC leaders for the future in 2003 or 2004. So that's where he comes from politically. Rahm Emanuel, yeah, he gave us Rahm. And all those right-wing Democrats, that's, okay, I get it. But you know what? That's all right. Because if that's the way he had to become president, I get you, but don't stand in my way. What happened during his presidency, we could not engage in critique. You could not say anything. People almost lost their livelihoods if they said, well, I don't necessarily agree with this. And that was a mistake. You told Jesse Jackson to shut up, retire, don't come to the convention. We don't want you here. Hey, man, the only reason you're here is because this joker ran. And change the rules so that they would so they'd be fair. I mean, come on. And now Black folks are not voting. See, that's the soft part that Savannah and Chaparral and Daryl and Mark and Dwight and Robert, no one wants to talk about. People are angry, they're disappointed, and you know what? They decided to very, very quietly show you by not showing up or moving over to the Republican Party. How about that piece?
Right.
That's what's happening. So don't get mad with me. I didn't do this. The presidential campaign that I came in on opened up the whole process, changed the winner-take-all system, and gave y'all a black president. But it was supposed to be progressive. And that's not what it was not, but it was our job to push it in the progressive direction, but we did not do that. Now let us learn that lesson and let us move this party and the country in a progressive direction. Let's do that. Yes.
I still will say the people who are not voting, they don't everything you said. I'm right there with you. I agree. I say this. Your speech is what I speak to people who understand that level of politics. But the people who are not voting, we just need them to come out and vote for the right people.
I agree.
The only way they're not hearing. So it's just like arguing in front of, I'm not gonna say kids, but like if you have parents arguing in front of their children and they hear the argument, now they're just like, whatever. We don't even care no more. They just go off and do their own thing. You have a group of people who don't have time to get into that part of the discussion. We just need them to the polls. The only way they're going to come to the polls is that we're going to have to, like you said, bring it up, put it in their language, make it relatable. Say, okay, we did this right.
No, let me tell you. Let me interrupt you, Savannah. You know what black folks have to do? And progressives?
I like what you said.
No, let me say this.
You said
if you don't do this for me, I am not going to give you my support. I have often said, and Chaparral, you are my witness. Before you get who you want, get what you need. That's politics. See, our problem is we want to fall in love instead of falling in line. There is an agenda that we need to have, that we need to set, and that we have goals that need to be met. Period. We keep wanting to engage in cult of personality, and I like them, and I like the way they look, and they make me feel good because they look nice and clean. They're articulate. Oh, please. As if this is the first black person who was qualified to be president. You think Frederick Douglass shouldn't have been president? Are you for real? We got to stop that. Because people are starving out here. We're closing public schools so that a person who could cure cancer, who has the answer for COVID, nurses, people who can do janitorial services, all these vocational schools, our academic institutions have been closed on the south side of Chicago. By a mayor who was sent to us by Washington, by the White House. Are you serious? We can't do that.
By the way.
Dwight, huh?
By Democrats, right, Dwight. And you put Arnie Duncan as the secretary of education, and he don't even have an education degree.
Whose claim to fame was that he spoke in Black English. They took that off of his Wikipedia description. That he sounded like a black guy. I mean, come on. I didn't say come on. I said come on. So there is a problem here. And wow, I got a lot of people tuning in today because, there's a problem and clearly we need to talk about it. Clearly. Daryl, I know you got to go. Oh, bless his heart. I'm glad you're not in court right now. But is there anything anyone wants to say? I mean, jump on in. Robert, somebody, because I've gone off a couple of times today. And Savannah's still here. Girl, I'm glad you called in. Aren't you glad you called in, Savannah?
I am. It's about time. It's been 2 years now. So.
Thank you.
Well, Santita, I think that, and I have to hop off after this also, but I think this is proof that Democrats aren't having those hard conversations in public that we're having in private. And instead of us, blaming parts of our base, saying, well, black men aren't doing this or no Latino aren't doing this, X, Y, Z. You have to look at the party. because if you look at after Roe got overturned by the Supreme Court, there was an executive order doing everything federally available to defend the right to abortion on the federal level. We saw that within 2 weeks. We've been trying to get a voting rights executive order. We've been trying to get a criminal justice reform executive order. We've been trying to get all sorts of executive orders done for years now. So don't tell me you can't do it when the answer is you don't want to do it. And the reason you don't want to do it is because we ain't made you do it. And if that's the conversation we have to have, I think Democrats have to be ready to lose a couple elections in a row just to serve a point. That's what President Trump did to the Republican Party. The Republicans at the top, they got too profligate. They got too comfortable. You know, the John Boehners of the world, the Eric Cantors, the Romneys, the Forbes, the Bushes, thinking the Cheneys, thinking that they ran the party. And so you start seeing the cracks in 2010 and 2012 with the Tea Party revolution. And then by 2016, the MAGAs came in and made the Tea Party look like centrist. And now the Republicans have decided we would rather put the Republican establishment out and put Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz in there than have to deal with y'all who think you run things. And Democrats might need to be ready for the same thing. How much longer are you willing to have the Clintons and the Bidens and the Pelosi's running the party, because those seem to be the only people who can bubble to the top? It might be time for that proletariat uprising to replace and reform American politics, as we're seeing on the political right.
Well, I mean, I think that's what people want. I mean, because if you think January 6th was just about some white nationals, we are all mistaken. We're missing the point, and we're being misdirected, so we don't deal with the real issues. There is structural inequality in America, and now white people are feeling it, and this is unacceptable to them. Period. We can find common cause with some people on the right, some people on the left, bring this thing together and make America what America is supposed to be. End of story. Mic drop on that. Stop looking at parties. Start looking at the people. Serve the people's needs, period. Both of these parties are corporatist. They serve corporations. They don't serve you. But you must have, now let me tell you the other side of this. You must get in the fight so you can be part of the fight and make things work. Standing on the outside is important, because you do need people who are going to march in these streets. But when you get into the suites, you cannot forget the people in the streets. That's who sent you there. And far too often, when we send Black folks into these suites, they forget, they get amnesia. And I'm tired of that. Can I get an amen? Because I'm telling you right now,
amen.
A person who cannot get a seat at the Democratic convention is Reverend Jesse Jackson. And the reason all those Negroes are up in there is because he put them there. And they run the convention and they will not give him a seat. We had this white man who was the head of the North Carolina delegation the night Michelle spoke in Charlotte, stood up and tapped Reverend on the shoulder because he was standing there. I was standing right beside him. And he said, I'm writing this down. Don't worry. This is going to be in my memoirs too, because it was nothing but grace. He said, Reverend, you can have my seat. He said, and my father said, no, it's okay. I'm fine. He said, Reverend, really, please take my seat. And my father said, sir, I'm fine. He said, sir, I'm the head of the delegation. I cannot sit here while Reverend Jesse Jackson stands. Please, I'm begging you, take my seat. Now, if we're going to have amnesia on the man who put you on his back and brought you in, and you didn't even believe you deserved a seat at the table, shame on you. And you're being ignored because you have no self-respect. When you have self-respect, you won't take this mess. You will demand voting rights executive action. You will demand George Floyd justice and policing. You will demand it and say, if you don't give it to me, I will not give you my vote. And I'm not going to wait. I'm not playing with you. We're still getting killed out here. Our children are still being uneducated, or they're not being educated. We have an education system that has not collapsed. It's being collapsed right before our very eyes. You send money to Ukraine every single month, but you can't figure out funding for the public school system in the United States. Are you for real? That ought to be unacceptable to you. If you have any self-respect, it is unacceptable to you, and you will not take it. Where is your self-respect?
And that takes me back into Rotenwald's position. That ain't just strategic, that's systemic. That is the system that we operate in. And so voting can only be part of that, but voting is never going to cure that because it's systemic. It is built in the system. It is the system. And so until we get beyond the system, till we get beyond the politics of America, it's going to always be, because it's locked in. It is going to always be that way. And voting is not going to cure it. Voting will affect it, but it won't cure it. We have to see this again in the context of the diaspora and the slave trade and the colonization of the black world, and begin to reach out at that. Mark, I wish you'd speak on that for one more minute before you get out of here.
I mean, because as you speak on it, Mark, that is what white Americans do. That is why Europe got a Marshall Plan. Because they were not going to let their cousins suffer. This ain't new, everybody. Mark Fancher, what you got to say before you go? Oh, did Mark already leave? Oh, well. Daryl?
We got Dwight McKee, Chaparral, and Savannah.
Okay, well, we have Dwight, we have Chaparral and Savannah. Everybody else had to go. Savannah, you, Chaparral, and then Dwight.
Okay, yes. I like the way you just took the mic and dropped it. Like, that was good.
You know what? I just want to share with you. I mean, I want you to finish. I just share with you, look, because we keep on going. Because let me tell you something. One thing I've learned from my father, he doesn't take any of it personally. He keeps right on going, even when you have disrespected him. And I know my father has a very tender heart. My mother has been married to that man for 60 years. And if she can say after 60 years of ins and outs, ups and downs, she said, you know what? Your father does not have a mean bone in his body. That's what his wife has said about him. For all y'all who have a lot of commentary about my parents' marriage, which is none of your business, the great statement is that they are together. She said he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. And yet he keeps on fighting the people who've disrespected him the most, who end up coming to him eventually. But it's because he's got a clean heart. He's like, I'm going to let God use me, and I'm going to do it until I can't be used anymore. But at some point, when are we going to learn and be respectful and start taking care of each other? I mean, for real? Savannah?
Santita, I think about your dad often, and am I?
You still here, sweetie?
Right here. Yeah, I think about your dad often, and I often say the same thing that you just said. Look, I even go as far as saying that Santita just needs to go ahead and put her bid in, because I just really value the contribution that he has made to politics and just the black race, period. Like, I really do value it, but I don't think that it has. I don't think it's as understood as it needs to be. I think that look, my mind is still like on what you said a few minutes ago. But my point was, a few minutes ago when I was talking, my whole point was, I just think that the people who need to come out and vote, who are not voting, they don't understand the part that we are talking about. The only thing they need to understand is that, you know what? When I misspoke earlier, when I fast forward to the president after Obama, we can start at the second term of Obama. But remember, he was getting on TV saying the speeches. He was getting on TV saying, y'all, we got to keep the grassroots movement going. We got to keep it going. Now, the other stuff on the higher level, I know that it affected the grassroots movement. So, yes, even after, even at that point, they lost seats. But after that, we still needed to come back to the drawing board and say, hey, guys, if we throw away policies just because we feel disappointed about Obama, we're going to still lose.
I agree.
And that's what happened. You know, we can't be progressive if we give up.
Look,
and
I agree.
I think that that group of black men that we are focused on, I mean, if you go look up what disassociating is, like, you got to check out sometime to protect your brain when you feel that disappointed. Like, nobody's going to go and read Obama's book the way I did, the one that he just released, where he acknowledged his wrong. He politically acknowledged his wrong. But those group of black men who are giving up on politics, somebody needs to reach out to them.
Well, you know what? He should. Well, you know what, Savannah? Then he should.
Here you go. Come on. You said it. I didn't.
No, he should. Because he needs to, you know, because the record is clear.
Because you know who else did it?
Who?
You know who else did it? You know, when after George Bush, you know, he went on TV and acknowledged, you know, that
he killed all these people.
There you go. Come on, you hear me? Look, I'm gonna get there where I'm gonna become as progressive as you. I just say it like I mean it. But yeah, he acknowledged that. And I just feel like after listening to Obama's book, I say, you know what? He needs to do the same thing, but he's going to have to do it where those guys black men who have given up on politics, he's going to have to go back to speaking in a way where they understand what he's saying. Hey, I messed up. I didn't do this part right. Because I'm telling you, when those black men saw how the last president got office, he was just like he was savage with the executive orders. He was like, whatever. They expected that out of Obama, and fast forward, Obama like, dang, I should have done it, you know. But nobody is communicating that to them. Nobody is communicating that, you know, Obama is very apologetic for how he did not do, you know, he tried to follow the rules.
Savannah. Obama ain't apologetic. I mean, let's just keep it real. He is not apologetic. I mean, I'm trying to be true now. You know what? I don't know. Right? Listen, Savannah. You know I'm in Chicago. Right now, he is basically moving black people out of their homes to build his museum, not library, his museum. He has basically gentrified a whole entire neighborhood in order for his museum to be put in that area. So he don't care a lick about what black folks think about him. And if he cared about black people, if he wants to be redemptive, he would be out here stopping for these black people who are very close to overturning some of these Republican candidates. He has not come out. Him or Michelle, they are quiet as a mouse pissing on cotton. Okay?
Chappelle.
Say nothing. I'm just telling the truth, Santita. I am telling the truth. The man is, he didn't even stop for Biden. He didn't even come out to help Biden. Let alone any black Democrat that is close to winning. He don't have no redemption. He's not looking for redemption. He do not care. He got what he wanted. He got him some money. He got him some power and some prestige. He won.
I beg to differ because
listen. I was one of those. I would like to call myself a reformed Obama maniac. Okay, so I watched him. We watched him, and me and Santita got into many battles about Obama. Okay, and the thing is that what I'm seeing as far as his policies, all of his policies that have been geared toward Black America have been detrimental. I cannot see anything, even with the Obama for Healthcare Act. He still supported the corporations. He didn't do the single payer, which is what we wanted. All of these things that we were pushing him to do, he didn't talk to Black leadership 7 years that he was in office. So you can't tell me that this man is remorseful. He's not. He did exactly what he was sent to do.
You know what, Chappelle? I think that the first of anything, sometimes and all of us are guilty of it, of getting in positions and trying to walk the line. I think that in hindsight, which is always 2020, I really do think that that he would redeem himself if he had a chance. I'm not a Obama fanatic. I just love politics. I listen to. I'm for any. I'm with you when you right. How about that? I don't care how I feel about you.
Well, I'm saying right now, if he wanted to redeem himself, he can go right now in Inglewood, which is not too far away from where he lives at in Chicago. He can go right there in Inglewood and talk to them brothers on the street. Build some community projects. Dwight is on the phone right now. He has a mail program right now that they're funding. You know, how many times Obama been down there, Dwight?
His daughter has worked with us some. She's more redeemed than he is. I told you.
Obama.
But you have to know who's behind him. See, one of the reasons that I'm not an anti-Obama guy is because I don't see him in isolation. I know who sent him, and I know who was behind him, and I know who was really calling the shots. And so it was never really about Obama. It was about the people behind him that Sandy would prefer me to go unnamed, but she knows what I'm talking about. And so all of his policies went to their benefits. All of his the programs, most of them they benefited from, and they wasn't us. He was more a pawn than a president.
Right.
I just leave that part.
He allowed himself to be a pawn, but I think that if he had to go that after the last president, he would go off script at this point.
No, there's a script that you got to follow.
You can't go. No, when Obama ran,
he would do what the last.
You can't go from 0 to 60 in 3.5 without a rocket on your behind. They put him in a system because he was the chosen one, because they saw the value that they needed for him at that time, which was to get this kind of wonderful image out there of a brilliant man and a wonderful wife and 2 brilliant kids. And so they saw that they'd work to their advantage, the corporate institutionalists, and they took that in the same way they would market a great television show and marketed this, that. But he was always more a pawn than a player.
Look, the template was set with Reverend. Okay, the template was set with Reverend. They saw how, because he used all of Reverend's material to run. I mean, the template was already set. They just needed to plug someone in. But I'm not caught up in that. What I'm caught up in is the elimination of poverty. What I'm caught up in is creating a public school system, vocational and academic, that's going to work for everybody. What I'm caught up in is catching going into this pool of genius that's out here, that is black, white, brown, yellow, and red, that is poor, that is middle class, that is wealthy, and let us create a more perfect, let us come together and create a more perfect union. We are not on track to do that. I want to know how we can do that. So we're going to have to close things out, everybody, and I promise you, we're going to have a part 2. I promise you we're going to have a part 2, and because everybody wants us to have a part 2, but it's hard to make lightning strike in the same place. But I want to know why it is that you think, before we go, people are so into this conversation today. Chappelle, your thoughts?
I think that people are interested because Black people are tired, Santita. We are tired of the broken promises. And I think that this feeling of corporate greed and democratic disenchantment is because of the fact that we're tired. We're just simply tired of the BS that is being spewed to us, that's constantly telling us they're going to do something and they don't. And so at this point, we're like, what's going to change? If we vote Democratic, what is going to change about our lives? We see that inflation is going up, even though that, you know, they talk about the unemployment rate is low. But what kind of jobs we got? Because I promise you, even the $17 McDonald's job is now still, with the price of rent, the price of light, gas, and everything like that, people are still feeling like they're making $7.50. So when it's so much pain out here. I mean, literally every time I go to the store, I'm spending $300 just for 3 bags of food. I mean, so until Democrats begin to acknowledge the pain that most Americans are in, black, brown, yellow, red, we're all in that same position right now. And until they realize that we need some help and cater to our needs instead of the needs of the corporation, we're going to continue to raise hell and be discontented.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Well,
shout out to Pet Granny. She said, this old white woman is tired of the BS too. I hear you.
Okay.
That's all I'm trying to say to y'all. It's a wonderful opportunity to even go past parties and grab people up so we can fix the system. The system hurts everybody. It's just you have so many people who vote against their own interests, like they did with Reagan. Reagan fired everybody, whoever. Oh my gosh, he fired all of the air traffic controllers in America. Huh? And all those unions, they supported him. And then he turned around and took their jobs away. Oh my gosh. What? Whew. Dwight, you want to have a closing thought for us?
I think Shapiro them said it all today.
Ooh.
I think you people are just tired of getting played. And at some levels, you ought to be. That's why I said I'm insulted that people think I ought not be being tired of being played. That said more about what you think about me than anything else. That you ought to be happy with what you're looking at, and just keep doing the same thing over and over again for us. That's an insult to me. I think more of myself than that. If I'm gonna get played, at least I ought to be upset about it.
Well, Miss Savannah?
Yes, ma'am. I think that if we focus on it, I want to speak to the topic that made me call in.
Okay, now Savannah, you got to make it real quick because I gotta push out of here. But I'm glad that you called in. Now,
yeah, the black men I agree. I like what Shapiro said. We need to get somebody to go to that group of men who are not voting and say to them, we're sorry, but please come out and vote.
But wait a minute, Savannah. This segment was not about black men not voting. This was about black men who are voting Republican.
I thought I said,
no.
You made a comment about, are we getting the black men out to the polls?
No. I said, do Democrats have a black male voter problem? Oh, no, baby. No. We're voting. Our men are voting. They're just not voting for the Democrats. Oh, no, stay right. I got to get you.
I don't know who to vote for.
See, that's what we've been talking about today. And you know what, Pearl and Dwight and Miss Savannah? We're going to have to revisit this. Savannah, I want you to... Chaparral, how can we get Savannah's number? I don't want to say it over here. You know what I'm going to do?
Inbox me.
Oh.
And I'll pass it on to, send it to me on Facebook Messenger, and I'll send it to Santita.
Will you do that, Savannah?
Okay, because I always think that's Chaparral, yes.
Do that like immediately, because people want a part 2 of this. Okay. And I always like having these conversations when I have a caller, when I have someone who lives life just like you, Savannah. You have your own opinions and thoughts and lived experiences, which are valuable. They're invaluable. That's why I like a people's roundtable. That's what I tried to have when I first started here. And I guess it's just been revived today. And so that's what we're going to do. Okay. So would you direct message her? Seriously, Savannah, because we're going to do a part 2 of this. Okay, just do it right away. But you all say, Savannah, say goodbye to everybody. They're still on a Facebook Live looking.
Thank you for listening to me.
They should have listened to you. Chapeau, say something nice.
Can't wait for part 2, Santita. Thanks for having us on.
Dwight, something nice and non-controversial.
Assalamu alaikum.
Here, he's a Christian. Get on out of here. But you can do whatever you wish. Hey, everybody. I hope that you got something really great out of this conversation today. I mean, I certainly did. It's one of these blessings that, just didn't even expect it for people to be this engaged, but I'm glad that you were. Please like and share this show. Share it with everybody. Share it with everybody. And let's continue to grow the show and have these conversations that are meaningful. And that will move us toward a more perfect union, that will move us toward becoming the country and the people, the human beings that we're supposed to be. And we have the power to make that happen. We're the ones who have to believe it. We have to know that it can happen. And we have the power to make all of our dreams come true and to make, the Lord's Prayer tells you, that which is existing in heaven can be made on earth. It's already here. Our thinking is off. That's the only reason we do not have an earth that is heaven-like. So think about that. Think about that. Let's change our minds and change our world. Yes, we can do that. I love you, everybody. I cannot wait to be with you tomorrow. Whew. God bless you. Love you. Love you. Everybody, like and share the show. Like and share the show. Love you, Carol, my left coast sister, A-King, down there in Memphis. You got your girl, Savannah, from Germantown. Fancy Memphis. Joyce and Dave, and Jewel. Girl, come on. I've spent a lot of time in Memphis at Reverend Kyle's house. Okay, and then we were close to the Stax record head, Al Bell. Spent time with him, and Larry Shaw, who ran Stax. I mean, we spent a lot. Joe Bridges and her family. Oh man, Memphis is our spot. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, and love you. And thank you for tuning in. Are you still there, Savannah?
Yes, I'm here.
Savannah, very quickly, how did you find this show?
2 years ago, like when the pandemic first. I was reading. I had finished reading Michelle's book, and she brought you up. She brought you up in the book. Oh yeah. And something just dawned on me. Said, let me go and check out her personality. I said because because she was marveling about how she was marveling about your personality in her book and how you were so inspiring. I said, well, let me go see what she's doing now so I can get some inspiration from her. And you had just started your podcast, the show right here on Facebook, and I just started listening.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Mrs. Obama and I went to high school together. She's a dear person. I haven't talked to her in years, but she said a lot of wonderful things about me and my family in her book, and for that I am grateful. It was very, very kind of her.
Yeah.
Very, very kind.
Here.
Very, very kind.
Yeah.
Very kind. People don't have to say anything nice about you. And so everybody, I love you. And it was a joy being with you today. And we're going to do a part 2 of this. We're going to do a part 2 of this. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. You're in Whitehaven, Memphis. Oh, okay. Joyce. I got my Memphis crew with me, huh? No, come on. You don't tempt me with a fish fry. Cause look, I'll get on that plane right now and come to Memphis. You kidding me? Love it.
Come on.
Look, invite me. I'll be right there. You kidding me? I love Memphis.
I live.
I love Memphis. I love it. I love it. I love it. I have always loved it. Just a wonderful, wonderful place. And Dwight's from Memphis. How about that? So there you go. We got this Memphis connection. But I love you, everybody. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the show today, and we will do a part 2 of this in the, I guess, Chappelle, what do you think? Dwight, Savannah, in the coming days or in the next week or so?
Whenever I'm open.
Chappelle? Dwight? I think they're gone. Well, Savannah, I love you, girl.
I love you too, and thank you for all the inspiration and for giving your time to us over the past few years.
Oh, bless your heart. You know what? DM Chappelle, okay? You have the proper spelling, or is Chappelle, Pearl.
Yes.
Okay, so send her so we can bring you back on. You just sent it to her?
I already sent it to her.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Because I don't know how to use any of that. That's why she does it. Girl. I don't know how to do any.
Chicago.
Girl, I don't know how to do any of it. But I love you and I thank you, and I'm going to bring you back on so we can continue to hash these issues out, okay?
I'm ready.
All right, I am too. Love you, girl, and I love all of you. Tell somebody you love that you love them today. That is what my Aunt Irene Ware, one of the legends in radio. She made her transition a couple of years ago. I love her, miss her every day. What an inspiration she's been. But she, loving, God-loving woman and a godly woman. She would always say, tell someone that you love them and mean it. Tell someone that you love them and mean it. Do that, everybody. Tell someone that you love them and mean it. This may be the last time, you don't know. I've lost a lot of people over the past couple of years. Most of them not to COVID. They've been getting out of here. And I just want you to know that every moment that we spend together, that we spend with each other, is precious. And I do believe that it's precious. And I want to thank you for being so precious to me. I want to thank you with all of my heart, for being so embracing of me and my family. I realize I stand on my parents' shoulders. And many of you might have been curious about Reverend Jackson's daughter and all of that, and Reverend and Mrs. Jackson's daughter, because my father and mother have been married 60 years. And if you think I'm not her child, you are mistaken. I have 2 parents, and they both made me. Thank you, God. And I love you, everybody. So God bless you. And Paula loved the show. Miss Tupac herself. Love you, girl. But I love you all. I love you all so much. And thank you so much. Love you. I love you, Carol. I love you, Jewel. I love you, Paula. I love you, Laura. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love you. And I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. And, send me some messages. Let me know what you want to talk about tomorrow. Got a lot to talk about. A lot. And clearly we have a lot to talk about, just given what we talked about today. I love everybody. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. And like and share the show. This show. How about that? Share it, please. All right. Love you, sweeties. Have a great one. Bye-bye.